Money, 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 money. Money in the Bank 2023 is taking place this Saturday, live from the O2 Arena in London. That's right, the UK. England is getting a premium live event in WWE, and you can tell by the accent, I'm extremely excited being English. And I've got to say, I've got several matches to discuss here today. I've got special guests with me as well. For those just wondering what time this means then for the premium live event, of course, being on Saturday, it is 8 p.m. for the UK folk, which means 3 p.m. Eastern. That means 12 p.m. Pacific, or midday if you prefer. Like I say, 7 matches to go through. Without further ado, let's go through the match card, and I'll bring my special guest on straight after. So there you have it there. 7 matches to go through. 2 Money in the Bank ladder matches. There are championship matches and a Bloodline Civil War. So without further ado, let's get our special guest on today. He's pretty much part of the furniture, but I'll tell you what, he's got some fantastic takes on all things professional wrestling. It is the one, the only, say it with me, NX Steve. How are you doing?
I'm very good, thank you, Steve. It's always a pleasure to be on this channel, and I'm really psyched and gassed and looking forward to this Money in the Bank pay-per-view at the weekend, talking about it.
Absolutely, indeed. So on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you feeling at this particular moment?
Oh, at the minute it's a 10, just because it's on at a normal time for me. I don't have to worry about staying up till stupid o'clock in the morning, so it's always a plus. I mean, I did try getting tickets for it, but the way WWE did their ticket sales for this, unfortunately, was a no-go for me.
Yeah, unfortunately for me, not possible either. But like you say, great time that it is on for the UK folk. But for the American viewers that are watching or around the world, how do you feel that a premium live event is on a different time to what you're used to? Is it better? Is it worse? Let us know if it works for you. We're interested to find out. But on a scale of 1 to 10, you said a 10. I believe they're running Steve. I've got to say, I'm feeling a 10 as well, just purely because of the fact that, if we're honest, I mean, the UK crowd usually bring an extra buzz to this. The O2 Arena, I'm sure, is going to be buzzing as well. It's going to be hardcore, passionate, just like, you know, when the States, when you go to like your Chicago's, your New York's, you know, when you go to Canada, it's usually very sort of, you know, high intensity. I'm expecting the same here with this show. But without further ado, we're going to get into the comment section here today. And we'll start with Mr. Robbie Collins, who says, no staying up for the UK, guys. Robbie knows exactly where it is. And for Two Sweet Carl from the States says, no sleeping in for the US, guys. Absolutely. It means that the alarm clock must have to go off in Chicago. That means, or from, 6-hour time difference from ourselves and Carl from On the Mark Wrestling podcast. We have as well the one, the only, dun, 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 changed his name after the other day. It's Mr. Joe Cena in the house. You can't see him, but you can definitely read his comments. I can't wait until Money in the Bank. I've done predictions on my channel. Joe Cena, go and check him out. I predicted John Cena to come back. Imagine that. John Cena has recently been in London. Oh, not in London. He's been in the UK. He's been in Liverpool. Imagine if he was to show up at this event. And of course, goes to say it'll be a good one as well. We've got, of course, a good old Let Me Talk to You. 2 goats,
Yeah.
SCW and Alex Steve in house. Yeah. Gotta love it. LA Knight, will he win Money in the Bank? We'll be talking about that a bit later on. And also asking if he's a goat as well. Could cost you an MVM. Well, you don't want to lose that prestige from On the Mark Wrestling podcast. SmackDown is going to be 8 p.m. I believe if it's, I saw yesterday, apparently it's going to be advertised on BT Sports Live. I'm not sure if that's true.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. It's what I've heard. So if that's the case, even SmackDown is possible to see ahead of time. And I'm going to mention this nice and early in the stream, ladies and gents, towards the ends of this stream. Going to go through SmackDown predictions as well by Nick Steve. So we're going to be talking about Oscar and Charlotte along with Sammy and KO versus Pretty Deadly. So plenty of reasons to be sticking around throughout the stream. Quickly, as we go through a couple more of the comments, I have to just say quickly, Nick Steve, what match are you looking forward to the most here?
As again, it's probably it's the ladder matches, because it's always that excitement. There's always that mystery about it. But then again, don't rule out the main event, the Civil War. And even the likes of Gunther versus Riddle, I expect that to be a great match, especially in front of that UK crowd. Like, that crowd is going to hype Gunther up so much.
Absolutely, it's going to be hard hitting, to say the very least. I've got to agree with you that the match is absolutely, of course, that's what the theme of this pay-per-view is, isn't it? A premium live event, if you will. But I can't look past the Bloodline Civil War will be the main event match we'll be talking about in this stream. And just say, ladies and gents, as well, from the early stage, especially if you're watching on delay, doesn't really help if you're watching live. If you want to check the chapters features, you can skip ahead to your favorite match. So without further ado, let's just see. Joe, I'll answer this question nice and early. Unfortunately, there will not be a watch along for Money in the Bank, sadly. Apologies for that one. But watch alongs not currently on the channel at this moment, but I'm looking to give you a review, so that's something you could look forward to. And that C Nation says that the Bloodline Civil War match will be the main event, and I do agree with you. I expect it to main event the show. We'll be going through some of the match structure also as we go through the stream. But without further ado, I think we're pretty much ready to get in with our first match.
Go for it.
Let's do it. It is going to be the Women's Tag Team Championships of Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler going against Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, the former champions, of course. Of course, they never lost those championships either. Liv Morgan picked up an injury, and that is why, she basically went missing for a couple of months from WWE. And of course, in the meantime, there was a fatal four-way to determine new Women's Tag Team Champions. Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler winning their match on Raw. Recently, Ronda and Shayna, of course, became the unified Women's Tag Team Champions, getting rid of the NXT Women's Tag Team Championships, defeating Isla Dawn and Alba Fire. Of course, once doing that and celebrating with the gold, Raquel Rodriguez, who was at ringside, came into the ring. Pretty much was the question of, well, why are you here? And we wondered which of those tag team partners has Raquel got in mind. And thankfully, it was a returning Liv Morgan who made her presence felt on SmackDown. So big cheers as well. And of course, that means, well, we've got the new champions against the champions that never lost the gold. So NXT, obviously not too much build when you talk about this one. But when it comes to women's tag team matches for me, I do think this is the biggest one WWE can put on at this moment. So I'm quite hyped for this match.
Yeah, I mean, it's got that whole champions that never lost their title theme to it. So it doesn't really need much of a build up. Like, I think I'd be a bit like dejected from watching it if this had been going on for like 2, 3, 4 weeks. You know what I mean? It's like, we know what the story is. We don't need to prolong this out over the next over the previous couple of weeks. So it's a self-explanatory match, really.
I think so as well, and it's good to see because obviously when you look at Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, two arguably single stars, but at the same time they've worked well together as a tag team. If they're not going for the Women's Championship, which of course on the Raw side right now is Rhea Ripley, the Women's World Championship, then obviously the tag team division is where they'll be for this moment. But potentially, should they not win this, I mean, we've seen Raquel have a face-to-face already with Rhea Ripley. Could you see potentially that could be the direction should they lose this match?
Possibly. I mean, it's just. I think the whole point of this is just to try and elevate these tag team titles more and do something with them, which is what they haven't done really since probably. I'm trying to think back to the last time I think people actually genuinely cared about these tag team titles. I mean, even maybe back to when Bayley and Sasha had them.
Yeah, I mean, we are going quite a way back, to be fair.
Yeah.
I mean, probably you're probably thinking what the pandemic era, probably when there was the women's tag team champions the last time, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think it was just before the Iconics won the Mania that year. So, yeah, it's just like that. I'm glad they're doing something interesting with it. I mean, more importantly, they're actually giving Ronda Rousey something to do because her championship runs have always, I felt, to me personally, a little bit lackluster. So I think that the dynamic that she's in there with Shayna, she's got someone to bounce off of constantly. Plus the fact it's a tag team match. Do you know what I mean? You haven't you as a performer isn't the sole like rating that people look at the match. They look at everyone in a whole. So it's a plus for me when it comes to Ronda Rousey.
Absolutely. I mean, let's be fair. I'm not going to be too harsh when I say this, but I don't think Ronda's run the second time around has been as successful as the first run. And I think being in the tag team right now, especially with Shayna Baszler, obviously they have a lot of history together. This is potentially a good project. They're not just for Ronda and for Shayna, but for WWE as well. Finally, if this women's tag team division is not taken seriously after this, it's never going to be because, you know, Ronda's got a lot of credibility backstage. Obviously, a lot of people behind of what she will want to do. Maybe she's got a bit of, I don't want to say the words creative control, but certainly probably has a lot of influence. Let's say if she wants to do something, there's probably a good chance that she's got more chance of getting what she wants than say someone that's lower down the card. So for me, when you look at this, obviously this is a one-off match, and hopefully I'm going to give my prediction now. I do think that Ronda and Shayna are going to retain. I think Liv and Raquel will break off and be single stars further down the line to go against Rhea Ripley if we've not got, say, the matches against Natalya or Becky Lynch perhaps going on past SummerSlam. Depends when they want to do those matches. You've got Raquel and Liv to be there against Rhea Ripley in the meantime. If you look with Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler, there are plenty of tag teams now they can work with on Raw, SmackDown, possibly even NXT as well. I mean, if you look at the likes of Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green, obviously we mentioned Alba Fyre and Isla Dawn already. We've got Katana Chance and Kaden Carter. We've got hopefully Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell when Indy's back to full fitness. There are other teams as well. Damage Control, obviously at this particular moment. Trish Stratus and Zoe Stark. So there are potential way you can make a division if you really wanted to. And I think this is the best way that WWE could do that at this particular moment. But yeah, my prediction will be Ronda Rousey versus Shayna Baszler.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm going the same way. I can't see them losing it. They're trying to build these up as a dominant tag team before. I imagine the inevitable story will be Shayna versus Ronda at some point down the line. But yeah, I'm the same as you. I can't see it going any other way. As for me, I'm hoping that after this that Liv goes back and she hopefully gets a restart on her singles run and hopefully gets to build herself back up to being a top singles star again, because I'd like to see her as a singles champion again.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to see it as well. And I mean, arguably as well, Liv was a champion the last time, by the way, that you were there against Shayna Baszler at Clash of the Castle. Is it interesting or fun that obviously these two were going for a women's championship the last time we were in the UK, and arguably they are facing off against each other this time round again?
Yeah, I mean, it's almost kind of like forming their own history. I mean, I imagine hopefully at some point they'll make a trilogy of it, and next time they come to the UK, hopefully next year for another premium live event, we'll get that as a concluding story, and they'll make an angle out of it.
Absolutely. I'm going to make Robbie happy in the comments. Maybe in Scotland. We've had Wales, we've had England, maybe Scotland next year. We'll see how it will play out. But one thing is for sure, we've got plenty of comments dropping in, so let's get involved with them and see what people have got to say. I'll start in the middle and then I'll work my way back up. Nubico giving a prediction. Got a feeling that Ronda and Shayna are winning. Is Noob's prediction. Thank you, Noob, by the way, for checking out the stream. Hope you're doing well. Hope everyone's doing well, by the way. And if you're enjoying the video, please consider hitting the like button. It really helps the algorithm. We've got 12 viewers at the moment. Who knows? We might be able to drop it up to 15, even 20. Robbie says, with Liv Morgan coming back, I think Liv and Raquel will win. Here's the question, though. If Ronda and Shayna won, who's next? There isn't that many other women's tag teams. Kind of touched on that a little bit already, but I mean, which team would you see potentially being the next ones if there was to? I mean, Katana Chance and Kaden Carter had a great showing against Ronda and Shayna just recently on Raw. Would that give them the opportunity to get another crack?
I think your best bet is to probably do some sort of tournament or whatever. I think that's the best way, just to establish like the 6-7 teams that you just reeled off there, to get them all on TV, get them some showtime, even build some of them a bit more, going towards being future number one contenders against Ronda and Shayna.
I love that idea. I really do. And if there isn't a breakup of Damage Control during this show, which I'm sure we'll be discussing a bit later on, perhaps they should be the first team that should go for it before there is that potential crack where they go the opposite ways. That could be a fun way to do it. Obviously, it's a big time match as well. Bayley and Io against Ronda and Shayna certainly be something I would be definitely up for. C Nation says Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler are winning. They just won the belts. That's a fantastic point. You just won the championships. The hot potato with these championships has happened far too often. We don't need to see that happening anymore. Also, Nubico says, also, can fans stop with a fake outrage over Isla Dawn and Alba Fyre losing the NXT women's tag team titles? Besides, they were useless before. As the old saying goes, you don't like it, go eat a Snickers. I'm guessing referring to those tag team championships rather than the performers themselves there. And that I can, I suppose, understand if, as there's been a lot of tag team championships in WWE, it's good to unify them. NXT.
I think to make this match a bit bigger, they should have had the unification match at Money in the Bank, because it just would have made a lot more sense when you've got two Scottish stars back in the UK.
Yeah.
You would have had major face value for those two, major heat for the other two. It would have done a lot more to elevate Ronda and Shayna as a heel tag team.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't disagree with that as well. Would have been great for the UK crowd and great for them as well. Obviously, doing all those indie shows across the UK over all them years to then perform Money in the Bank would have been special. Nation says, I heard Ronda made WWE make her and Shayna women's tag team champions. Obviously, we'll see if there is an influence, but certainly rumors will go around. Two-Sweet Carl says, I don't think Ronda and Shayna lose just yet. Feels like they'll lose it in the winter or fall to build to a one-on-one match at WrestleMania. Certainly, it could be an interesting idea. That would be fun. You think the same?
Yeah, Ronda versus Shayna at Mania seems to be the way to go, and it's just I can't imagine they have Ronda lose another WrestleMania match. That's just the thing, and it's like Ronda's not going to be around forever. Shayna's going to be, and I'd imagine you'd thinking logically you put the person over that's going to be staying for a while, but who knows with WWE.
You never know. You never know. Robbie just says Glasgow. He's up for that show. I think he's already front row tickets have been purchased by Robbie. I've got a funny feeling. He says, I've seen Io and Dakota said in an interview if they would add someone, they'd add Piper Niven. I wouldn't be against it. Piper Niven would be a great shout, not doing a lot at this particular moment in WWE. Sinesh says some fans are whining about the NXT Women's Tag Team Championships retiring, but let's face it, the main roster took all the good NXT Women's Tag Teams. At this point, I would agree because I can't think of any that are on NXT that would be ready for the main roster at this point anytime soon.
No, but then this is the point we had that NXT women's roster is kind of stacked, and without some form of another championship, they're all just vying for the same thing, and that's why we're getting a lot of stories and angles that I suppose it's a blessing really that they're not involved in titles, but you want some of them to be fighting for something in the end of the day, because at the minute they're all just going for that one belt.
Absolutely, but if you put Ronda and Shayna on NXT for a special one occasion, we've just had it with Seth, Freakin, Rollins. Ratings. Yeah. That's all I'm going to say. Ratings is there. Very kind of you, by the way. C Nation says saying underrated, deserving more subscribers. Thank you. It's very kind to say indeed. As well, on the road to 2,000, just under 10 subscribers now to get to the 2,000 milestones. Anyone that's watching that's never seen this channel before, hit the subscribe button. Would appreciate it massively. Also, do we know anyone attending this Saturday, Money in the Bank NXT? Do you know anyone that will be in attendance?
Unfortunately, I don't. For the first time in a long time, like I knew a few people that attended Cardiff last year. I know a few people that attended previous ones, but no, unfortunately, yeah. Again, this was all down to the ticket thing and the fact that they made you have to buy a ticket for both SmackDown and the pay-per-view, which just bumped up the price, and it did really put a lot of people out because it was double face value, and especially because of because it's over here, it's on a Friday night. Like for me personally, I would have had to have taken 2 days off of work, and it was like I was only really wanted the one because it's the only one I wanted to go see. I've been to a Raw taping before. So it's like it's nothing new for me. Whereas the live event is an attraction. So that's what I wanted to go and see.
Absolutely, no, I totally understand that, and I mean, I've seen in the last time when we did a stream a couple of streams ago, Eleanor Wrestling, she said she will be attending this show. And she's a very, very bubbly YouTuber, I would say, and she'll be doing her predictions, I'm sure, later this week. So definitely drop her a subscribe. But I believe Wrestling's maybe in and around the house, but I'm not sure if she got tickets or not. But that's the only ones I've heard of, if anybody. But if you are going to the show, I hope you have a fantastic time, whoever you are. And by the way, just say Too Sweet Carl, it's definitely on the mark when he says this. Subscribe, you marks. Love it indeed. You can't beat that. You really can't. C Nation says, feel bad for Shayna Baszler. It feels like she has been in the tag team division for a while now. Absolutely. But I think this time she's probably happy with the teammate that she has got. Probably happy with the other ones, but to be with Ronda, that definitely feels probably a lot more special. Metaphor are the women's tag teams, but they're not ready for the women's tag team championships. Same for Valentina Perez and Ulysses Leon, which is not easy to say, by the way. But I agree with you. Those are the two teams, the only two teams I can think of at this point, and none of them are ready at this moment. As to be fair, I don't view Shayna Baszler as a main event single star anymore. Feel like they have missed an opportunity after the call up, so the tag team division is probably where she belongs. Fair comment from Too Sweet Carl. Would you agree with that, or do you reckon the Ronda match potentially, if and maybe when it happens, would help that?
There's two ways that you can do it. I mean, if you were to have Ronda win, it's time for Shayna to have off TV, redesign herself, come back as a new character, come back as the person that bit Becky Lynch's neck and all that kind of stuff. That was great, and I was so sad when they didn't roll with it, man. It was amazing, but yeah, but then again, it is a possibility, and she might just end up being a tag team star going forward. But I'd like to think that with Triple H partially being in charge, I'd like to think he'll give her another run as a singles champion.
If Triple H can get his way, there's a possibility. Yeah. If it's Vince, no, That's it. I think that's probably the sum up there, but we'll see. I think it depends how this run now goes with Ronda Rousey to see where it leads to going forward. But if it does lead to a singles match, I guess anything can happen. Joe Cena says, Randy. We'll be talking about Randy. Randy's definitely in the thoughts of this stream, so keep peeled. We're talking about him probably in 2 matches' time. But I think we're ready to go on to our second match of the show. So without further ado, let's talk about the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, coming against Dominik Mysterio. Oh, it's another beatdown dad moment, or a deadbeat dad moment, should I say. Obviously, Dominik Mysterio not happy with Cody. The fact that he's kind of broke his wrist and isn't spending time at home with his daughter. Of course, Dominik Mysterio getting booed at every opportunity. And of course, Cody says, don't boo Dom. Gotta love sarcastic Cody. Good stuff indeed. We've had some bits of back and forwards, especially this week on Raw with the microphone. Cody making references to the cat in the hat. I don't know if anyone else has made that copy of an order on Amazon. I certainly have. But at the same time, for me, I think this should be a fun match, although I do think it's going to be a fairly predictable match when it comes to Money in the Bank. How are you feeling about this one, Nick Steve?
Yeah, I mean, if this had been in the US, I'd have probably been a bit more split on it. But yeah, I think with the fact that it's over here, I think that what I'm probably going to talk about in a few minutes' time is probably going to be saved for a Monday Night Raw. But yeah, it's Cody's music that's you're gonna watch that crowd go absolutely insane for it when they sing along and when they do the yeah, it's gonna be amazing. It's one of the things I've really gutted that I'm not there for, man. It's just one of the things I'd like to be a part of.
Yeah, the energy is going to be unbelievable. I was tempted to sing it actually at the start of the graphic, obviously, but yeah, I've saved all your ears on this occasion to not do that. But yeah, obviously, the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes has got the open, let's say, challenge out to Brock Lesnar. Obviously, that could potentially be something in the future, but I think it's going to be saved for, like you said, potentially. I'm guessing that's what you were teasing, could be a Raw rather than this show. I mean, Dominik Mysterio as well. I did think beforehand, it was a few weeks ago, he was having like matches continuously with Xavier Woods, and I was thinking, what the point of these matches? Because I didn't know where it was going. Clearly, it was building Dominik up to have a Money in the Bank match against Cody Rhodes to give him some wins under his belt. So it clearly made some sense there. Is there a chance that Brock could show up and give Dominik the win, or is there a chance we give Dominik here, or is it all Cody?
I mean, I think that's the deciding part is if Brock shows up or not. Because I think for me personally, if Brock shows up, Dominik wins. If Brock doesn't show up, Cody wins. I don't personally think that Brock is going to show up. I think that it's too far in between, like to fly all the way to England just for a 30-second appearance to cost Cody a match against Dominik Mysterio. I think not. I think it's going to be more a case of that they're going to do that on Raw. And I think that for me, Cody picks up the win and then they're going to rerun it on Monday on Raw, do the same thing again. And then Brock's going to come out, cost Cody the match, and Dominik's going to pick his win up against Cody on Monday.
I like that, and I agree with that 100%. And I think when Brock does that attack, I expect like a cowbell involved. I imagine we're probably going to get like some form of strap match, similar to the ones we've seen with Dusty Rhodes have with Randy Orton back at the Great American Bash 2007. I expect something along that sort of line for their stipulation at SummerSlam. So yeah, I agree with you. I think Cody wins here. I think Dominik, weird enough, wins the feud on a Monday Night Raw. But yeah, Cody, it's all going to be about the music, the woe, and this match will just be a perfect filler on the show, if you will. If they want to do something after a ladder match, for example, this is something perfect for everybody. They can get the woe in, they can have a bit of a calm down with the match. For me, this ticks a lot of the boxes. But anything you'd like to add then before we go to the chat?
No, pretty much summed it up.
I think we have indeed. So I'll tell you what, let's see what our chat is saying. I like the C Nation says, Dirty Dom will lose to Cody Rhodes. You've got to love a nickname after all, haven't you? Joe Cena in the house says, I think Cody is going to win this. I think we have to agree. And Two Sweet Carl says, even if Dom cheats to win, I don't think Cody can afford a loss to Dom. That's just me. Yeah, I think here at this moment, I mean, Cody, you know, he lost his last PoE match. So I think that certainly could be the case here of where he comes in here, gets his win. Like you said, they can do that loss on a Raw instead. And then they can start building up to SummerSlam. Seems to make the most sense to us here. Temple Place, never be sorry. Thank you for checking out the stream. Hope you are keeping well. Just to let everyone know, because Temple Place has been streaming, that's the channel name. Give it a subscribe and go and check out some of those streams. Nubico TV says, Cody Rhodes is winning because we all know that Brock Lesnar is going to show up after the match for one more match at SummerSlam. SummerSlam. I really hope that it is going to be the cowbell involved there. I want to remember the name. There's a specific name of that match. I'm going to Google that in a couple of moments' time, if time will allow me. Dirty Dom could win by DQ, says C Nation. So there we go. Something that could be in there for us. Temple Play says, what's your both favorite Money in the Bank cash-ins in WWE history? Easy for me to say. Mine's a toss-up between Dolph and Seth. They seem to be the go-tos as well. For me, it's always between those two. And of course, well, let's be fair. You always remember your first, don't you? Edge as well back in New Year's Revolution 2006 was also an absolute banger of a cash-in. Obviously, we've never seen anything like it before. What would be your favorite?
To be fair, there's actually like my favorite is obviously it's the heist of the century at WrestleMania. It's a bull rope match, by the way. That match I just looked for it for you.
Thank you very much. I'm just googling now.
But yeah, it's obviously the heist of the century is the one. But then I can remember. In fact, I can probably remember most of them. There's been quite a lot of them that have been like really good moments, which is why the Money in the Bank briefcase is such a good story point. Like. Liv cashing in was a great moment for her when she finally won a championship. Obviously, Edge cashing in the first one, Dolph cashing in, Del Rio, like even failed cashing attempts, like Del Rio trying to cash in on Punk when he faced John Cena. Do you know what I mean? This is what's so good about that briefcase is you remember certain points in other stories. Like I remember Vince standing there calling for Del Rio to come out. Punk just like lays him out with I'm pretty sure he lays him out with a GTS and then just sits on the barrier, blows a kiss at Vince and waves goodbye. And it's like, this is what's so good about the Money in the Bank briefcase. But yeah, Heist of the Century is obviously, I think he's the greatest at the minute, unless I don't know how you top that, to be fair.
It's hard to top it because it's a WrestleMania, that's the thing. And I think at that point, it was also a time when it was Brock versus Roman, and Roman was not at his most popular. Everyone had thought it's a foregone conclusion. Roman's winning. There's not going to be, a way around this. And all of a sudden, Seth comes running out of a briefcase, and you think, hang on, whoa, what's going on here? Surely he won't win. And then he goes and wins it. You think, amazing. So for me, I think Seth has to be the one. I was a big Dolph Ziggler fan, especially around the time he cashed in Money in the Bank. So for me, there is a bit of let's say I want to go with a bit of Brooklyn Nine-Nine vindication. The fact that Dolph went and won that at the time, because I thought he would possibly never become a world champion. So I was pleased to see it happen. Edge obviously is special as well. And you mentioned Liv Morgan, another incredible one. Dean Ambrose, we mentioned obviously we did the retro or a rewind, let's say, the other day. That also done very good. The night that every member of the Shield was WWE champion. So there's plenty of good ones. So what I'm going to say is to everyone that's watching, let us know your favorite right now in the comments. A to the K Wrestling says, wouldn't surprise me if Cody was to lose this, maybe via Brock involvement. After all, needs more adversity, right? Like what you've done there. And shout out to A to the K Wrestling show, by the way, doing fantastic content over there. Thank you for checking out the stream. Telwa Play suggesting, whoa, only smoking mirrors. Imagine if we got that theme at Money in the Bank. I suppose it worked with Drew. I have a funny feeling people might be disappointed if they don't get to do the whoa, though, for the Kingdom song.
But it was all about broken dreams, man. That song should never return. The broken mirrors. What? No, thank you. Oh, sorry, smoking mirrors. No.
I like the song, but I think it should do it if Cody went heel, just to really annoy people. That would be the way that I would say.
Maybe, yeah.
If ever. But right now, it's just perfect for babyface Cody for me. Sination says, when Cody Rhodes wins the undisputed WWE Universal Championship, it may be too late. It's never too late. Can never be too late. If he finishes the story, we'll be happy he's finished that story. But of course, I suppose it's better late than never. I suppose that's the saying. Richard Rhodes in house with a spoiler. Remember, it's a prediction. Zoe Stark, Shinsuke Nakamura wins Money in the Bank ladder matches. Love those picks. And also says the kickoff, Cody beats Dom after Edge, Spears, Rhea Ripley. Well, that would be quite a turn for the books, wouldn't it? Edge has not been seen for quite a while. C Nation says, Liv Morgan cashing in on Ronda Rousey was a good moment, but it made no sense as they were both baby faces at the time. It did kind of turn Ronda a little bit, though, towards that heel side that we've got now. Maybe that was a strategy in the works. We'll never know. Mike, happens Mike in the house as well. Mike, hope you're doing well. It says, what unexpected surprises might we see on Saturday at Money in the Bank? Well, I was going to bring it up later, but I will just quickly bring it up now. We had mentioned of Randy Orton, potentially mentioned in the comments. The one I'm thinking though would be most likely would be one Mr. Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, I mean, if not Drew, then who we've literally just talked about in Brock Lesnar. I think that's even though it's a lot of people are thinking, yeah, Brock might turn up. Like the Drew one will be a nice surprise. I think A heel Drew is what you need at this point. Where he fits into the show, though, that's the question for me. Maybe with the Gunther and Riddle match, who knows? But you can't have a heel Drew against a heel Gunther. It wouldn't make sense.
No, I've got 2 suggestions, and they'll be coming later in the stream. So beware, they will be coming back onto Drew McIntyre later on. What is our favorite Money in the Bank moment? Wow. I mean, that could be just a literal moment in the match. Could be a winner. Could be a match that's not a ladder match. NXT, off the top of your head, what would be your first shout?
Oh my god, you've really put me on the spot here now because my brain cannot think. I mean, don't get me wrong. A lot of them for me tend to bleed into another, like because we tend to see kind of a lot of the same spots. I mean, I think I'm just going to cheat and go back to the review we did the other day and say when Del Rio smashed Dean Ambrose over the back with a ladder because that was just unreal.
It was quite an unreal moment. I tell you what, my favorite is actually though. I suppose this could class as cheating because it's Money in the Bank, but it was at a WrestleMania. It was at the first one, if I'm not mistaken. Shelton Benjamin running up the ladder to close on Chris Jericho. That was an absolute insane spot of the time, and for me, is definitely one that always lived long in the memory. Shelton Benjamin was an absolute menace when it came to those ladder matches. Temple Plane says Cody Rhodes finishing the story is getting worse than the Fast and the Furious franchise. When will it end? Lol. I didn't even like the first Fast and the Furious. Now that's a controversial take. Joe Cena.
Tokyo. What are you talking about? Tokyo Drift is the best one. That's the biggest controversy when it comes to Fast and Furious.
There we go. There we go. To be fair, Mike, anyone could show up. John Cena, could Brock, Cody, could Randy. I think it could Randy rather than Cody. Yeah. You never know, Joe. Any of those things could happen. We'll have to wait and see. But one thing that could also happen is we could get a new champion. And let's talk about a championship match on the way next. An Intercontinental Championship match between Gunther, I wish I could do it like Samantha Irvin, against Matt Riddle for the IC title. This one has been building since, well, before Night of Champions, because Mustafa Ali learned that his program wasn't really important because really Gunther didn't want to face Riddle at that show. It's been building up since. We've had multi-man matches, we've had beatdowns, we've had Riddle show a bit more of an aggressive side. Obviously, he arguably, I suppose, broke Giovanni Vinci off TV with the ankle lock move. He was on crutches this past week on Raw. Retaliation has been done, though, from Imperium to Matt Riddle. Of course, he's got an injured ankle going into this match as well. We've had Sammy and KO come to the defense of Riddle on a couple of occasions. KO, not sure why, but he will show that passion where he needs to. He's got anger management after all. And yeah, I mean, for me, really, taking all the storyline stuff aside, I think that the match is just, it's going to slap, literally.
It is, but my problem is just I've got no interest in Matt Riddle at the minute. When he was tagging with Randy was when he was like peak and we was getting the best stuff out of him. He needs somebody to bounce off of because he is really a comedy character that can just get serious when needed, but he really needs someone to bounce off. And like watching him on screen, like I'm still thinking back now to his awkward backstage promos when he's just wheeling about on his scooter, and I'm like, it's just so awkward for me. But on the plus side, it's just good. Like you said, it's going to be a hard hitting match, and that's what I'm looking forward to. I think this is just like, you know, especially because of how the way the O2 is and the way it's really weird how the seating is done in that place. So it's just going to echo around that building.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like, if you're in the back row, you can hear that chop absolutely perfectly when it hits Riddle's chest. And I'm sure Riddle can hit 1 or 2 back just as well, to be fair. I mean, looking at this, like you said, I kind of feel the same. I've not been hardly ever really invested in Matt Riddle's character. I know it's, again, could be a controversial take from me and you there, but it's just, like you said, when he was with Randy, that's when it was peak, that's when it worked, and things clicked, especially because of the fact Riddle was so comedy and Randy's so not. You've kind of got that perfect balance that works with the two. But certainly, Randy Orton was mentioned earlier in the video. Matt Riddle is feuding with Imperium here, not just Gunther. Could this lead to perhaps SummerSlam in some variation where we could get Randy return and we could get RK Bro here against Imperium, or perhaps even Randy versus Gunther?
I honestly, I hope not. I think when you get to SummerSlam time, that's the real time you're looking at who's going to be the person to take that Intercontinental Champion off of Gunther, I believe. Like I said, at the minute for me, Riddle is not the one, unless like I said, they want to do a 6-man tag match and do Gunther and Giovanni and Ludwig against Riddle, Randy if he's back, and someone else. I think that would be a more interesting dynamic. Almost play off the Clash at the Castle match, like when obviously it was Sheamus. It was the Brawling Brutes versus Imperium. I'd like to see that possibly happen again, but I just like I said, if you're going to do a singles match, I'd rather someone else, because I'm so not interested in Matt Riddle at the minute.
No, of course, I understand. A good old-fashioned Donnybrook match. We've not seen one of those for a little while now. But, yeah, I mean, for me, I kind of agree with you. I'm not as invested in Riddle, but I've got to say I'm invested in the match. Obviously, Gunther, Matt Riddle, both spent a lot of time performing in the UK, for those that are probably not aware from the States. Riddle's done a lot of visits over, done a lot of matches. Obviously, Gunther was a Volta, of course, across Europe, one of the best wrestlers in Europe, getting poached by WWE. First off, NXT UK, then, of course, coming now over to NXT and now the main roster. Gunther is on course to becoming the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time. The Honky Tonk Man's record is finally at risk since, well, it's going well over 30 years now. I expect Gunther to remain your Intercontinental Champion, and I think he's going to hold that championship until, I'm not even going to go as far as October, November.
Yeah, I'd like to think that as well. Like, he's definitely breaking that Honky Tonk record. It's just they need to build the right person to take that title off of him. Maybe someone like a Pete Dunne, because obviously they have their history with the UK Championship. It needs to be the right person, because, like I said, Gunther is kind of on Roman Reigns' level when it comes to championship runs at the minute, like his dominance in matches and stuff. So you need to have, again, the right opponent to beat him.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You need to build the right person for that opportunity. And could that come through perhaps even Money in the Bank? We'll have to wait and see. It could be an option we can talk about later in the stream, although I am personally not a fan of mid-card titles being cashed in on. I've said that quite heavily before on this channel, but certainly we'll see how it will lead to. We need to start building the person to dethrone Gunther, but in the meantime, Gunther needs to break that record. Apologies, Matt Riddle. It's just not going to be your night. But let's go into the comments. And first off, a big shout out to Dom Mills in-house, and of course, has to be done. Let me talk to you. Yeah. Absolutely. We've got to love a bit of LA Night love on this stream. Joe Cena saying favorite Money in the Bank moment was when John Cena returned in 2021. Was a big moment actually when that happened. Really like that. Temple Plays, I'm going to answer this question by more of a tease than actually answering it now, because Drew McIntyre is someone I want to discuss, and obviously saying where would he bring him back in. Temple Plays would do it saying against Cody Rhodes. I will leave the tease of in the next match we're going to talk about. That's what I'm going to leave it at. So leave you just hanging on that little bit, but we will get there very, very shortly. Mike, Italian Habs Mike says Gunther should break Honky Tonk Man's record. WWE needs to make a big deal out of it and make a huge moment when Gunther loses the IC title. I completely 100% agree, because the IC title is the most important. It's been arguably, I even want to say in about 20, perhaps even longer, 25 years.
And imagine that title wasn't on a premium live event for nearly 2 years. That title got absolutely just thrown to the side. Like, I think it was on a Mania, and then it didn't come back until I think it was a Gunther won it. I don't think it was on a pay-per-view. It's absolutely disgusting how they treated that title in the last couple of years.
I have to agree, and it's good to see. We've answered Temple Play's question already, arguably about will Randy Orton return this weekend. Two Sweet Carl says Riddle will definitely be treated as the heel in this one with the UK crowd. Do you think that will be the case? I mean, obviously Gunther, he is going to be regular popular with this crowd. Could you see like a bit of a Bizarro World moment with this match?
My only worry about it is the outcome of it, because I don't believe Vince is going to travel to the UK. I believe that Triple H is going to produce this show without any input from Vince whatsoever. But then I know Vince doesn't watch the product, but I know that if someone feeds back to him that Riddle got booed the hell out of, that's just going to cause some weird chain of events, and the multiverse is going to split, and like we're just going to get even more Riddle because of how the crowd treat him. Probably.
Does that mean unicorns are coming when the flip-flops come off?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Oh, there we go. There we go. A good suggestion here. I like this, by the way, from A to the Cases. Butch should have had this spot. Gunther versus Butch would be amazing. They've had a lot of history. NXT UK had some fantastic matches. Would that have been a great alternative?
It probably would have been a better alternative, if I'm honest. I would put I'd prefer to see that match because of like all the history they've had in the UK. Those two, it would make 100% more sense.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree. But at the same time, I do think Gunther versus Riddle is going to be a great match regardless.
Yeah.
Gunther should lose his Intercontinental Championship in the singles match. Agree with that. If he's going to be... well, actually, no, I disagree with that. And I'm going to explain why in a minute. If he's going to be the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion, then it'd be a shame if he lost it in a triple threat match. I've always said a triple threat match is the best way to do it because of the fact that I want Gunther to remain undefeated to go towards that World Heavyweight Championship. I don't want him to be like the guy that was in the mid-card that then lost, that then fell down the pedestal. Usually I would say the opposite. Usually I would say someone's had a long reign as champion. This is a great opportunity to make someone the star, really go and beat that person. And I would say that with Roman Reigns, I'd be angry if Roman lost in the triple threat match and he wasn't involved in the decision. But I feel with Gunther, because it's that mid-card title, you've got the opportunity to move him further up the ladder, and he could be that guy that could take the title off, let's say, Seth Rollins, or if it's going to be Drew McIntyre, Finn Balor, whoever it will be further down the line. Do you think that is the right way to go about it, or would you reckon that the singles match is the right way? C Nation brings a great argument here.
No, you are right, and whatever you just said is spot on. Normally, the singles match is the way to do it, but Gunther is too dominant to be losing. And like, aside from people like, for instance, Cody, anyone who's basically above Intercontinental Championship at the minute. So all your main eventers, so Seth, Roman, Cody, they're the only people that could beat him for that title. But then it's causing a ripple effect where you couldn't have Gunther lose and then have a main eventer take a step down to the IC title in a minute with how everyone's being booked. It would be a lose-lose situation. The triple threat is the safest bet because in that way the title goes on someone fresh. Gunther stays protected. You get a couple more weeks story out of it where Gunther can get a rematch. There's more shenanigans that causes Gunther not to win the rematch, either a DQ, whatever. But there would be more better ways of doing it for a triple threat match.
Yeah, I think we agree on that there. Since just at least they're pushing Matt Riddle again and not doing the silly stuff. He's being serious. Certainly has been more serious recently, and that has been a bit pleasant to see. I did like the moment where he got aggressive backstage with Ludwig Kaiser, obviously, as well. We've seen with the injury that's been done now to Giovanni Vinci. That side of Riddle, I am more invested into rather than the goofiness.
Yeah, it's just how long he does it for before he goes back to wheeling around on a scooter. It's just like I said, his in-ring stuff is great. It's just he needs someone to bounce off of, whether it be a manager, a tag team partner, or just in general interactions in something. Like I don't know, I don't get me wrong. I always like to be surprised, and I think if Riddle can up his game and then be more serious, I think I'd enjoy it a hell of a lot more.
Absolutely. I know that this will never happen, but as soon as you said the word manager, just imagine Paul Heyman's reactions to Matt Riddle if they were a pairing. That would be quite entertaining myself for TV, but never will happen, so we won't waste too much time on it.
I think Paul Heyman would have a stroke.
I think probably would as well. Alyssa here in the house. Alyssa, hope you're doing well. Been a while. I'm sick of Roman Reigns. Seth Rollins being shoved down the throats. So sick to see Cody Rhodes deserves it. Not interested to see why they're trying to kill Cody Rhodes' momentum. I don't think they're trying to kill the momentum. I just think, unfortunately for you, Alyssa, they are really going with a long-term play here. Whether he finishes the story with Roman or ends up winning the World Heavyweight title, he will win it one day. It's just which title it's going to be. Joe says, would love to see Riddle do it. Fair play. I'd like to see that we've got a bit of balance in here. I like the fact that we've got people saying more than one argument. C-Nation says it should have been Sheamus beating Goods to win the IC title at Clash of the Castle 2 so he can get his Grand Slam Championship win. But now he has to wait till the next WWE draft. And goodness knows when that will be because we had to wait a long time since the last one. But yes, that's a fantastic point, C-Nation. Would have been interesting. Sheamus is not on this show. Are you surprised?
Yeah, actually, now you mention it, that is quite a shocking thing. It's like after the ovation that he got in Cardiff last year, you would think that if you're going to do another show in London, he's probably one of the first names you're going to put on the card with the likes of Finn Balor, Pete Dunne, even Rich Holland, for God's sake, because he's English. Do you know what I mean? So yeah. It is quite a shocker that he's not on the card.
Absolutely indeed there. Shout out to Boss in the house as first. Hello, let's go Usos. We're talking about the Bloodline Civil War in our main event of the stream here today. If you enjoyed the video so far, by the way, please consider hitting that like button. Subscribe if you're new here to the channel as well. And yeah, like I say, get involved in the comments. Let us know what your thoughts are for Money in the Bank. Of course, Sharing is caring. It helps this channel grow massively, helps the algorithms here on YouTube. Only 10 subscribers away from 2,000. Christopher Burton in the house says, sup, guys, I'm new here. Well, welcome, Christopher. Hope you're doing well. What is the opinion? What if Gunther retains, jumps Riddle, KO and Sammy, and then we get a big return from Alexander Wolf to destroy Sammy, and Randy is safe for SummerSlam? Obviously, if we were to get Alexander Wolf to come back, obviously that was the original 4-piece for Imperium. Adam Bradlow has got in the comments and suggested the idea of Ilya Dragunov, which has been a rumor recently as well. Does Imperium need a 4th member at this point? Would you be happy to see an Alexander Wolf or a Dragunov in that role?
I'd be actually intrigued to see how Dragunov would work because of the history that Dragunov and Gunther have. So I'd like to actually, I think that would be a pretty interesting dynamic. I wouldn't be against Alexander Wolf coming back. I think they need to do him right, since they done him up a wrong him last time. Just like the way that he was released, I think was just outrageous. Like he got, well, no, because he got beaten up by the Ludwig and Giovanni, and then the next day he was released from WWE. I think it was a bit of a scumbaggy way to write him off of WWE TV, if I'm honest.
Didn't even get a chance to get revenge. It was
exactly.
not a fun way to go. Sinisha says, people are saying Cody Rhodes needs adversity. When is Roman Reigns going to get his adversity? No, he's a heel, but he still needs it. Good things come to those who wait. But C Nation, I do realize we're all aging here. It's taking a lot of time. Adam Brett says, who do you think will get this prize? We'll get this Saturday. We've mentioned already the idea of a few, potentially Drew McIntyre. We mentioned Brock Lesnar. We've mentioned Randy Orton. Certainly, those could be a few that we could look out for. We'll have to wait and see if there will be any more. Temple Places Gunther, aka Volta, is 2-1 against Matt Riddle in pro wrestling. They had a trilogy in Progress Wrestling for the Atlantis Championship. There we go. Bit of knowledge. Did not know that myself. So Temple Guys, thank you for sharing that. Drew Allen is in the house. Sup, guys? Sup, Drew? Hope you're doing well. Is it McIntyre in disguise? We'll have to wait and see. Nice to see Joe saying hello to everybody as well. CH says, yeah, but Gunther will be the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion. Why would he not do the job? Just because it's the mid-card title to get him. I suppose it feels like the right place, Money in the Bank, to make this pun. There's extra rungs of the ladder he can climb at this point. And that's the reason why. If he was going straight back down to the bottom of the ladder, he's got to work his way back up. If he's protecting the triple threat match, he still stands still on that ladder and can move his way towards the top of the ladder. Not to grab the briefcase, but maybe to take the World Heavyweight Championship. That's my theory on it anyway. Sinisha says a lot of people will be whining about Gunther's legendary Intercontinental title reign ending in a triple threat match. But that's Twitter for you, isn't it, Nick Steve?
But then, it is a lot of social media running. But then think of it this way. If Gunther goes undefeated, loses that Intercontinental title, and then goes on to Mania next year and is the one to dethrone Roman, you have Cody undefeated in 3 going on 4 years, Gunther undefeated, and you have these 2 serious heavyweights. Say what, that's got main event written all over it, man, and that would be absolutely amazing.
It would be. Plus, I mean, not really 2 groups anymore. Bloodline's kind of in the Civil War right now, but Imperium is a group here. Solo, if he's still around with Roman as well, you kind of got something going with that. So could be interesting. But also, imagine this idea. He drops into the championship in the triple threat match, then wins the Royal Rumble. Say it's around the same time period. There are things to gain. There are places to go. Obviously, I don't think we're getting King of the Ring anymore this year, but there were certain places to go with this. I thought Gunther could have been a potential to be in Money in the Bank as well. Imagine that guy having a briefcase. That would have been frightening. Jeffrey says,
absolutely.
He wouldn't even just need a chop. He's got a briefcase. Jeffrey in the house as well says, up, guys. Mad about Rampage, the return of Johnny TV. No idea who the other guy in the mask would be. Not going to lie to you on that one, but I'm going to keep it WWE if you don't mind. But Johnny TV, I'm happy to see Johnny Mundo back on the TV screen. I've not seen him for a while. Alyssa says, why wait? Get Cody Rhodes' moment. We'll care more. Idiot said this force said it's forced. It feels like a fail. What if Roman Reigns did defend the title at WrestleMania? Feels like a lazy champion. Don't like the part-time champion. It's all down to opinion, Alyssa.
But then let me say this to you, Alyssa. How much more is it going to mean when Cody finally wins it if you've been waiting even longer? The fact that you're probably going to have to wait another year because he's probably not going to win it until at least Mania next year at the earliest. It will mean so much more, and especially since it really does need to be. neighbours with a noisy exhaust going past. It's seriously, it will mean a hell of a lot more, and it really does need to be on the biggest stage of all. It needs to be on Mania. It can't be like the prime example we had. What was we talking about the other day about a title? Like for example, the match at 2016's Money in the Bank, John Cena versus AJ Styles. It is a WrestleMania match, and Cody winning the title is a WrestleMania moment. He needs to do it on the grandest stage of them all.
He absolutely does indeed. Alyssa, imagine how loud your whoa is going to be when Cody finally does it.
And of course, neighbour's exhaust.
You need to get that checked out. I'm not going to lie to you. There's something a bit wrong with that, but hey, that's for another day anyway. But Mike says, do we see Jay or Jimmy turning each other at Money in the Bank? I'm going to just simply say, I don't know.
No, I can't see it. Those two are they're brothers, man, and they're brothers for a reason. They're out. They are definitely out.
Definitely an English reference there. Google Mickey Flanagan. You'll know exactly what we're talking about. But yeah, they had the chance to do that the other week and they didn't do it. So yeah, I think that they'll be sticking together. Will it belong to the Get Solo is the question. It's the main event match we're talking about in this stream. And of course, we've got a championship match coming up and 2 Money in the Bank matches still to come as well. C Nation says Gunther will beat Seth Freakin Rollins to win the World Heavyweight Championship. I might be agreeing with that, but I'm going to reserve judgment until I've talked about Seth versus Finn Balor first. Eric Douglas in the house. How are we, guys? We're doing very well, Eric. It's even better. You're part of the party as well. Hope you are doing well, my friend. Joe Cena in the house there. I want to do the music again. Dun, 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 dun. Says, I think John Cena will come back. I have a cost Logan Paul to go for the Intercontinental Championship or go after the WWE Championship. Interesting stuff indeed. I like the fantasy booking from Joe Cena there. Hang on. So Cena says, I am so sorry, but this will be one of the few times I have to disagree about the Gunther IC title reign thing. Do you know what, C Nation? I'm actually totally fine with that because, I mean, we can't always agree on everything.
You're entitled to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. I think, to be fair, C Nation makes fair arguments on it. We just, I think, have fair opposing arguments. I think it's a great debate, if I'm being honest with you, that can see people go either side.
It's like I'm never going to argue with him about stats and facts because he's got it down to a T.
It's like literally like, just stored away. Like he's got a file in the brain. It just like comes straight in. C Nation is definitely very good when it comes to the stats, and fair play to him for that. Temple plays. I was waiting to go there, and you can't teach that there for a bit of Enzo Amore. Temple places. Gunther loses the IC title in the triple threat match, but it doesn't get pinned. Butch pins Tyler Bate to become the Intercontinental Champion. Your thoughts? I mean, kind of on the wrong show at the minute, but at the same time, the All UK affair certainly would be fun if it ever happened.
That would need to be on a UK pay-per-view if it was to ever happen. That's all I'm going to say.
Absolutely, indeed. There, Adam Brad asked if we can talk about AEW if there's time left at the stream, but only if there's time left at the stream will we touch on bits of Forbidden Door and AEW and stuff like that, but only if there's time. Celestia says more major feuds should not end at WrestleMania or SummerSlam. Make other shows feel special too. I agree with that. That used to happen a lot back in the day, especially the Attitude Era. You wouldn't always have to wait to the big pay-per-views. So yeah, I can agree with that sentiment as well. But Cody's is special. It's special. It needs an 80,000 crowd to shout "whoa" with him holding a championship. It just there's something special about that. Eric Douglas, and do you know what? We've got to do it for the third or fourth time this stream. Let me talk to you. Yeah. It's got to be done. It's got to be done indeed. Two Sweet Carl says, no disrespect to any of the former guests, but NXT is brilliant on these shows. Would love to collab with you before I head to Detroit for SummerSlam. NXT, I'm
Hit
sure
me up, son. Hit me up. I'm always available. Well, I'm available most of the time, to be fair.
There's a DM on Twitter coming your way. That's all I can say there. And yeah, look out for it. And do you know what? I'm going to say that would be a fantastic show for On the Mark Wrestling Podcast. Would love to see it. Eric Douglas says, what in our minds is WWE's biggest what if? I think the biggest what if is what if Finn never got injured as Universal Champion? That's a very good one there. And that would be a great segue.
It's one of them ones. It's just there's so many. Like I told you, we had this conversation the other day, and I've given you an inspiration for a video idea. But there's so many. Like, what if Finn never got injured? There's so unwritten. It's like why we never got Taker versus Sting. Like it would have been. Imagine. I can't sum it up more than the video package from Raw. I think that was perfect. It's one of the best video packages I've seen in such a long time. And the way that Finn talks about everything that Seth rose to the top while he was out injured, and he's like basically not really achieved much since then. And it's like you just need to watch that video package. It's unreal.
Is fantastic, and it really builds up this match well, because we're going to talk about it in a couple of seconds' time, actually, Eric. So fantastic timing. As the biggest what if moment, I mean, what if Sting never got injured? I just feel still with the idea of Taker and Sting would have been one. And what if we had got Hogan and Flair at WrestleMania 8? You know, that just would have been quite fun.
What if we'd have got Pumpkin Balor versus Bray Wyatt? Do you know what I mean? There's all these kind of crazy what ifs.
There's lots of them. There's lots of them in there. Obviously, there are other ones that come to mind as well, but I'm going to keep it with those ones for now. I love this. What if SCW didn't know that YouTube can have a stream? Well, we wouldn't all be here. That's what would be the case right now. We'd all be doing something else of our lives, and I probably would have had to do a pre-recorded one. Victor in house says, "Yeah, there we go. There we go." We would probably try to do these pre-recorded, wouldn't we? Victor says, breaking news, NXT Europe is coming soon. Imagine there could be an announcement potentially this Saturday. I wouldn't be surprised. It'd be a good place to do it.
Ideal play, exactly. Ideal time, ideal place.
Absolutely indeed. Then we see Nation says it's kind of crazy. Finn Balor is the heel in this storyline, and not for me in a way. I like the idea with the bitterness and the Judgment Day-ness, but that's before we go into any further detail. Let's get the match graphic up, shall we? Seth Freakin Rollins versus Finn Balor, taking place at Money in the Bank for the World Heavyweight Championship. Obviously, there's a lot of history then with these two, and NXT, if you don't mind, I'll just quickly dance through it for us now with my tippy toes. This obviously stems from the first ever Universal Championship match, which of course was at SummerSlam 2016. Imagine that as a rewind at some stage. Of course, that's where Finn Balor picked up a very bad injury to his shoulder, of course, with a buckle bomb from Seth Rollins on the outside. Finn, who won the match, had to relinquish that championship the next day and arguably never recovered. Finn Balor hasn't been the same as that guy. He's never got to the top end once again. And like you said, this past week on Raw, he's not been bitter because of the fact he had the injury. It was more because of Seth's reaction, laughing, kind of just putting in his face of like, ha, you're out, and I can go through and get that championship again. And obviously, I like the fact that Seth has, as we know, Seth has, with his style, what he's got with his own theme music. There's going to be a lot of singing at this show, by the way, from the crowd. I've been singing all over Finn Balor. Obviously, every time he's been on the microphone. I hope that London doesn't do it throughout the entire match. I think that could be slightly annoying. But at the same time, Finn Balor's not liked it, so it's encouraged it all the more. But it's brought out an aggressive side of Finn Balor. Some of the Rollins said he wants to see that Finn Balor return. We've seen it return. Balor's attacked Rollins on multiple occasions, including Monday Night Raw. A lot of those coup de grace coming off tables, off steel steps, off top ropes. The ribs are painful for Seth Rollins right now, to the point that he was actually even taken out of an open challenge match. Barely got through a match against Bron Breakker on NXT, which was a fantastic match, by the way, for the World Heavyweight Championship. But an attack once again from Finn Balor after that on the show. This past week on Raw, Carmelo Hayes looked to make the save, and of course they had a great match, Carmelo Hayes and Finn Balor. A bit harsh, people said that it was a bit of a weird result. I think that it made sense that Finn Balor won that match. It leads us nicely to Money in the Bank, Seth Freakin Rollins versus Finn Balor. For me, I think this has been built very well. And you said a couple of moments ago, that video package, the way that Finn said like how his bitterness has come, absolutely poetic. I loved every moment.
Absolutely, man. Like, I'm in some ways glad that this isn't the Demon as well. Like, we're not getting Demon Balor, because this is the Prince, and I think this is what's going to make it even more gritty and hard hitting and physical. Is the fact that he doesn't have to wear a face paint, and there's no superstitious mumbo jumbo going on with it. Do you know what I mean? It's just going to be a guy that was done dirty by the guy standing across the ring from him, and he wants revenge, and he wants to absolutely kick 7 bells out of him. So I'm looking forward to this, and I'm hoping this is going to be match of the night, because I'm expecting these two to put on an absolute classic.
Yeah, I do. I have a feeling as well that this potentially, I will say, obviously, Money in the Bank usually they'll have one open the show, and obviously with the Bloodline Civil War, I imagine it'll be the main event. So I think this is perfectly positioned match 4 of the night. If I had to predict, I think the men's Money in the Bank is going to open the show. I think that the women's will be after this match potentially, or they'll do it as match 6, and I think then the Bloodline Civil War will be the main event. But I think this will be in the middle of the card. It's going to be interesting to see how it's going to play out as a storyline narrative with this match. But like you say, if these two go full tong, that this has got all the potential to steal the show.
Yeah, it's like it's funny you talk about the match, the match order as well, because depending on how they do the match order as well, I feel has an outcome on how the result is going to go as well. Like I've got a feeling that we could be in for a surprise, whether it be whoever wins the Money in the Bank match, whether whoever wins this match. But I think we're in for something serious this weekend, and like I am really excited to see what they do, and it's just going to be absolutely crazy, man. Like you're not going to see a more split crowd than when it comes to these two, because of it being in the UK. You're going to have that homegrown talent fan base against the guy who gets people to sing like his theme song every week. So it's going to be a really good showing for these two.
Absolutely. Someone's got a bit of credibility in the bank at the moment. Better Wrestling Experience actually said that apparently WWE, there could be one or two real big surprises this weekend, obviously in the match orders. So we'll have to wait and see what they could be. Would it be seen as that big a surprise if Finn Balor did do the job and got the championship?
I think so, because the fact that it is Seth Rollins, he's only had 2 televised defenses against Bron Breakker on NXT, and I forget who the other one was against on TV. But do you know what I mean? I think it is. Yeah, it is a case of how they don't want this title to look like it's hot potatoed, but the storyline almost needs it for this moment. Like it's a shame that we didn't get this title introduced maybe a month earlier, and Seth could have had another defense on a pay-per-view. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they do with it.
Yeah, I'm intrigued with it. I mean, we'll go predictions now then. I mean, you said that the storyline perhaps could need it. You said it could be a surprise there. I do think Rollins is going to retain here. I think that Finn Balor will give his best, but I don't think it's going to be enough on the night. I think it's horrible to say this, but I think time has passed of Finn Balor holding a World Heavyweight Championship at this moment. This could be famous last words that could bite me in about 6 days' time. But I can see Rollins retaining here. And do you have the same prediction?
I do not. I am going to go for the shock.
Nice.
I think the fact that we didn't get Drew win at Clash last year, and the fact that we've now got another British wrestler on a British pay-per-view for a world title, they've got to pull the trigger with one of them. I mean, like, I think this would be, it's another one of them cases, like, if you're going to do it, this is the right place to do it. So I'm gonna throw it all out there, and I'm probably gonna be wrong, just like I was at Clash, but I am gonna say Finn, and I think it just plays more into the results of the Money in the Bank match as well. So yeah, I'm gonna go for the shocker and say Finn Balor wins.
So I have a couple of questions. I did say I would talk about Drew McIntyre, but I'm going to just talk about Money in the Bank first. Probably would have made some more sense to have talked about Money in the Bank and predictions first, but hypothetically, whoever wins Money in the Bank, whoever wins it, if that match is before this match, we've been used to recently seeing someone cash in one briefcase on the same night. This is the only World Championship that's on the line at the moment, or the Roman is in the house as well. Could you see the winner of this match being vulnerable of a cash-in?
It depends who wins. If Finn wins, and again, depending on who wins the Money in the Bank match, if, for instance, an LA Knight wins, don't think it wouldn't be successful. Seth wins. Seth doesn't have a faction behind him that's in the arena, because obviously Dom will be there, Rhea will be there with Dom, Priest is in the Money in the Bank match. I don't think it would work against Finn. I think if you're going to have a cash-in, it only works against Seth winning.
So here's my follow-up question. What if it's Damian Priest that cashed in on Finn Balor?
Exactly. That is the $1 million question. Because we know these two have obviously had their history the last couple of weeks.
It's been a bit of friction.
It is going to be a bit of friction. But then, what if Priest wins the Money in the Bank and Finn doesn't win the championship? That Money in the Bank briefcase then becomes a bit of a sore thumb between those two. Do you know what I mean?
Now, I didn't get a chance to make this video in the end, so I'll just bring it up quickly now for a couple of minutes. But that was a fantasy booking idea I had to break up the Judgment Day, was that Damian won the briefcase. Finn didn't do it here. Damian has been eating a lot of pins recently. Finn will blame him for that. And obviously, Damian didn't want help when he took on Seth Rollins, where Finn says, "Well, I don't need you," but
That's right. Yeah.
deep down he's like, "Well, that was talk for everyone else. That was for Seth. You should have come out. Why didn't you have my back?" kind of thing. And it could be a case of that. Well, Finn wants to say, "Let's go for the tag titles with that briefcase." Then Damian can say, "Well, we've already beat the tag team champions. Let's work together as a team, show that we still got this, and go for the tag titles. Lose, and then that's the way that then perhaps maybe Damian Priest is kicked out of the group because of the fact that he's a babyface in the making with a briefcase. That way, then we can have an idea of, well, where does Rhea and Dom stand on this situation? All of a sudden, you can build that up. But instead of while Rhea and Dom are making their mind up, Finn actually gets the first victory over Damian Priest because of JD McDonough. JD McDonough joins the Judgment Day. It's in the initials. Obviously, from there forwards, then we can have Finn Balor say, "Well, look, I've already beat you." And you can have a situation where the beatdowns are then done on Damian Priest. Rhea and Dom look like they're going to make a save, but then actually continue. Judgment Day continues on without Damian Priest. You can then
Just
go
like
on.
how Edge was kicked out.
Yeah, exactly. If you do, especially that first match at Payback, for example, with Finn Balor and Damian Priest, you can then do Fastlane as the other one, which is the following pay-per-view. Do it as a ladder match because Finn Balor can see it as a fast lane of getting the briefcase to then go for the World Heavyweight Championship again. That was the fantasy booking idea I had in my mind. I don't think any of that was going to happen, but we'll see. For me, I'm going with Rollins to return.
That's the fun thing about fantasy booking. We can dream as much as we like, so you never know.
You never know, indeed. What I will say quickly, and instead of mentioning his name, Drew McIntyre. This, for me, is the perfect place for him to return because if Finn Balor doesn't get the job done, the guy who didn't get the job done last time could return in in Drew McIntyre, against Seth Rollins. And what's to say that Drew doesn't do, say, one of the Claymores on the night? Just kind of make the statement, hold the championship up. It could be a case of on the night that it's a bit of a cheer, bit of a mixed reaction because of the fact that we're in the UK, but obviously then take it back to the States and we can see a more, let's say, devilish side of Drew McIntyre, getting back to being the Scottish psychopath that we'd seen previously. That's what I think will potentially play out here.
What about the Money in the Bank match is the first match on the card, and Drew ends up replacing someone in the match. Drew wins, and then cashes in after Finn fails to beat Seth, and Drew finally gets his win of a world championship in front of a crowd in the UK.
I think it'd be an awesome idea. I must admit, that's why I've put this and the men's Money in the Bank ladder match together, because poor Butch is in the match, isn't he?
He is.
Take out the Brute. Drew
Yep.
comes in. You can see it in Styles, ladies and gents. It's there if they want to do it. And when we talk about shocks, that's a shock that could realistically happen.
And it automatically propels Drew to win the Money in the Bank briefcase, because Absolutely. At the minute there's a lot of could be this guy, could be that guy. Drew comes in. Drew has to win. It just makes sense. You're not going to bring him back into a multi-man ladder match for a contract and not have him win. It wouldn't make sense.
If Drew ends up in that match, he's winning it. There's no two ways about it. But he's not advertised for it yet, so we'll still be predicting the Money in the Bank ladder match for the men, probably with an actual prediction. But before we do that, we've talked a lot, NXT Steve. NXT Steve, I'm going to let you say what you got to say quickly. And go. No,
that's fine.
We've got.
I was literally gone.
Go on. I was going to say we've got 23 comments that have come flying in while we've been talking.
Go for it. Go for them, man. Go for them. I've literally forgot. I've lost my train of thought now. Anyway,
I'm very sorry for doing that. But let's see. Eric Douglas, what have we got? Punk Austin during Punk's record break title reign. I'm not sure. I think I've misread that, Eric. There. What have we got? Punk's Austin during Punk's record reign. Oh, right. Okay, we got that match there. Oh, that would have been epic. C Nation says, interesting fault. Seth Freakin Rollins is a theme song. His theme song is more over than Seth Freakin Rollins. What do you reckon?
No, Seth is one of the best. So it's just the fact that it's I'm not being funny. Seth goes over everything. You could honestly give him dog crap and he would turn it into, do you know what I mean? You give him chicken scratches, turn it into chicken dinner, essentially. There's nothing that guy really can't get over.
I do enjoy a chicken dinner, I can't lie to you. But yeah, that's... I can agree with you on that one there. I can agree with you. Do we see a new look and a new theme for Finn this Saturday? He's kind of got his own theme, so no, I don't see anything different for Finn this Saturday.
As long as we don't get a diamond or a mirror plated skull, I'm sure we'll be all right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wasn't that what he wore at Mania? Was a mirrored skull or something? Or am I thinking? I'm thinking about Edge. I think that's right.
I think Extreme Rules. I think last year.
Edge.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It was Shockmaster 2.0, wasn't it? But yeah.
Oh yeah.
There's a little bit of that. Thankfully, there was no walls for him to fall through. Eric says, have we discussed the women's tag titles match? We have. It was match 1, Eric. So just rewind to the stream and you'll get straight there and join us when you finish. Although we have got Money in the Bank coming up in a couple of seconds' time. Should they do a triple threat match? Rollins, Cody, and Roman. And the story comes full circle in the main event of WrestleMania next year. I wouldn't be against it. I think it'd be a fun main event.
It would be a way to sell it. It would be really interesting because you would have to again, but it doesn't work because of the shows and everyone being on it. It would just it's a nice idea. It's a very unlikely idea at this moment.
Yeah, absolutely. But we'll wait and see. We're never against the idea. Temple Place says, I'm not a fan of bringing Carmelo Hayes up as NXT champion for him to lose against Finn Balor. I don't get why they did it to see if he's ready, but it could have been handled. They could have handled it a lot better. So I'll give my take on it because I did say earlier in the stream that I was perfectly okay with it. And the reasoning for it is that right now, if I had a choice and I had the pencil, I kind of agree with Temple. I wouldn't have booked the match because there is kind of a no-win situation. But if you're going to bring Carmelo Hayes up and you're going to give him a match where he doesn't win, it's good to give him a match against someone who's going to go for the World Heavyweight Championship. Obviously, exactly. Raw and NXT, they are two different breeding grounds. You know, you're swimming with fishes in NXT, you're swimming with sharks on the main roster. And that's where you are right now. It's not as if he's lost against Tozawa, and he's had a great performance as well. And I thought the match was really, really good. I thought Carmelo Hayes looked outstanding in there as well, by the way. He looks like a diamond in the rough. WWE have got a serious player on their hands when they want to pull the trigger and push him as a main roster guy. That doesn't have to be in the near future. I think it's going to be a while before we see him, which I think, again, it's going to be why it's okay. I think many people will forget the match in time because of the fact that Finn Balor, you know, like I said, he's a top guy right now. And obviously, it's not like when Karrion Kross came up as NXT champion, lost against main event Jeff Hardy in a minute 55. Carmelo Hayes got a good offense in. And if we're being really honest here, and I know this wasn't really meant as part of the storyline, but go back and watch it. Carmelo Hayes' shoulder is up at the start of that pinfall. He's not actually pinned for the 3 count. If you really want to go into minute details. But for me, overall, like I say, it more comes down to Raw over NXT. I do understand it's NXT champion, but if they want to give a champion some exposure, let's be fair, Carmelo Hayes is the best talent, in my opinion, that they've got right now that could have lost to Finn Balor last night on Raw, especially as they've played that story through NXT. They want to get more eyeballs on NXT. They've put Seth Rollins down there. They brought Carmelo Hayes up. They're hoping that that's going to bring eyeballs to tomorrow night. Obviously, Carmelo Hayes versus Baron Corbin is not as big of a draw as Seth Rollins being on that show the previous week. But I do think what they look to do, they're trying to get that next TV deal for NXT. That's what they're trying to do. And to bring people up and give them opportunities. Like you say, is he ready? Give him the exposure. It's good to see NXT talents get a breakthrough moment. He's been on SmackDown, had a pull-apart with Baron Corbin as well. People which is that small portion of the WWE audience like you and I, and then NXT, we know Carmelo Hayes. We follow the journey. Most people don't know him. Without an NXT championship, that guy might as well have been a jobber last night to many people. And he had a chance to get over. And he was actually winning the crowd over during that match as well. So that's my take on it. I thought that the crowd were more invested at the end of the match than they were at the start. And for me, I still feel Carmelo Hayes, like I said, the guy looked money in the ring. I thought it was a fantastic match, Hayes versus Balor.
It's not only that, it's the fact that Carmelo is 2 years into his WWE career. Yeah. Balor is like 8 or 9 years into his career. Balor is a former 2-time NXT champion. He's a former Universal champion. All right, he held it for a day, but he still won the belt against Seth Rollins. He's a former Intercontinental champion. He's a former tag team champion, I believe. Do you know what I mean? These guys got so many accolades under his belt. It's not like it's a no one that he's losing to. And yes, I'm in the same boat as you. You really shouldn't have your TV, like essentially your NXT champion losing against anyone. But if you're going to lose against anyone, it's the one guy who's like, he's original black and gold NXT. Do you know what I mean? One of the I think he possibly may still hold the longest reign as NXT champion. If not, he's like the second longest. So I'm not gonna complain about him losing to Finn Balor. Like you said perfectly before, Karrion Kross losing to Jeff Hardy in 2 minutes is more of a travesty.
Absolutely, and the thing is as well, like we said, that there are plenty of people that could if he'd lost 2 on the card, we'd be turning around saying, "Oh, that's not good." But the thing is, I totally see what Temple Place is saying. He's NXT champion. The thing is, you booked yourself into a corner by booking the match. It's difficult, but as the match happened, for me, it's the right result as the match happened. But obviously, from a booking standpoint, you could have done something differently if you wanted to. Maybe the pull apart was the best way to do it, or you could have done a match on NXT. But then maybe it's worse for Carmelo to lose in his own house. But that's then, I guess, up for debate. Nation says, I wouldn't be mad if Finn Balor won the World Heavyweight Championship. Seth Rollins has already had a good title reign with 2 good matches. Had a good 2 good matches. And to be fair, a fighting champion doesn't always hold that title for long. Doesn't always do it. Clarkson Dunn says Seth is established and he can take a loss, but I'm intrigued to see what happens here this Saturday. It's going to be exciting. That's one thing for sure. And we're split on our picks as well. Joe Cena says, what if Mandy comes back? What if she does come back? I can say there'll be some toxic attraction, definitely from some of the fan base. But hey, I don't see her coming back anytime soon, sadly. Although I do think that she was very much improving with gimmick, character, group, everything that was surrounding her in WWE. She was ready for that next stage once again. Tino's time in-house, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't matter what time of day it is. It doesn't matter what time zone you are in. Just know it is Tino's time. Tino, thank you for joining us in the stream. And I'll be joining Tino's time on his channel this Friday to also discuss Money in the Bank. So you can join us on his channel then. Seth freaking Rollins doesn't need a title. He's the GOAT. It's a fair point there from C Nation. Temple Place says, what if we got AJ Styles versus Shawn Michaels in their primes? I mean, obviously, births would have had to be a bit different, but certainly I do think that would have been one of the best matches ever. I do hold that as certainly one of the best matches that we've never got, so certainly could have been fun to see. Clarkson Dunley says, good point. Can Judgment Day be a modern day Bullet Club? I mean, they're different groups. They've got different philosophies with that. But you mentioned NXT. He's more Prince at this moment. And I must admit that I'm quite enjoying this this sort of character we are getting from Finn Balor at this moment.
Yeah, I think aesthetically, I think they're two completely different concepts, and I just like I see where the statement's coming from, but I prefer Judgment Day as Judgment Day, if you know what I mean. Like I prefer the black and purple. I think you know what I mean. It's a cool look. The music's awesome. Do you know what I mean? They have giant wings on Titantrons. This fire. It all looks cool, man. Bullet Club for me I feel is really sort of washed out of the last couple of years since the likes of Kenny leaving New Japan. I think the Bullet Club really, really died out.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, to be fair, we've already got Bullet Club Gold. We don't need Bullet Club Purple, but certainly I do see the philosophy where Clark is coming from. They're both doing great stuff in their own right. Temple Place says, Jordan definitely hits the devil inside. Balor goes for up the top hit, and then pins Rollins, your new World Heavyweight Champion, Finn Balor. Fantastic stuff indeed. There's another pick potentially for Finn Balor. One of us is onto something. I like that. I like that indeed. The Clarks for giving us a bit of praise there. Also says, man, I'm so happy for Saturday, as are we. We are very excited for the show. And going with Seth Rollins to win, Noob and Co. Thank you for giving us your prediction there. Seth definitely seems to be a popular pick today. Christ says, exactly, Steve. Expect the unexpected. And then we go live after Money in the Bank Club. I'd love to. I'm working. That is one of the reasons why it will not be on Saturday, but I will look to do something for you all on Sunday. Maybe earlier than usual on a Sunday. We'll see how we go. And we'll see how the week plays out. Eric Douglas says, imagine a Liv heel turn after the women's ladder match. Well, she is earlier in the evening there, but with the women's tag team title match, obviously she's got herself, let's say, occupied on this show. So I wouldn't want to see a heel turn from Liv. She's so over with the crowd.
Yeah, she's definitely a fan favorite at the minute. Don't get me wrong. I'd like the idea of a heel Liv Morgan. I'd like to see what she could do in the future. She's been a baby face for as long as I can remember. Well, aside from that time in the Riot Squad, but she was more of a baby face in a heel squad, in a heel team, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely, indeed. There, Temple has a response. This is a valid point there. Thank you very much, Temple, and obviously respect your opinion as well on that. I do think that you make a valid argument as well. But it's one of those. It's actually a really good debate. More than anything, I don't think there's a right or wrong, and I think that's what makes that really fun conversation there. And also, he goes to say Carmella Hayes for next year's Money in the Bank. Melo don't miss, and certainly you wouldn't bet against it. You wouldn't bet against it at this point.
No, it is a good shout. I mean, the only problem is I think it'd be I think he'd be a bit too fast for a bit too soon for him. Like, especially like if we say, for instance, draft happens like I don't know, a month after Mania, whenever Money in the Bank. I think that'd be just a little bit too soon for Carmelo.
Certainly could be indeed. The C Nation there says Balor apparently have been a tag team champion, but being United States champion. We're not arguing with you, C Nation. We know you got some stuff there going on. So there we are. But tag team champion outside of WWE, Temple Place has mentioned there has been IWGP tag team
IWGP.
Champion. That's the one indeed there. Damn, going to miss that Friday show working with Warrior Wrestling. Had a great time there 2 weeks ago. So catch it on the replay. Certainly make sure you do catch it on that replay. I'll answer this one very quickly. Guns being with Bullet Club now, pretty cool. Guns, Bullet Club, kind of works. Yeah, it works.
Their entrance smacks. It's one of the coolest things, man. That gasses me up already when I see stuff like that. And I'm like, man, you guys look like badasses. I like it.
I like it too. It's pretty cool. And especially as well, Ace Austin and Chris Bay are not around right now. So, yeah, I think for me, that's a perfect fit. Steve? Add a new member, leader Edge, if they're really going to get out. I mean, Edge could always come back in. Why the devil not?
You already said Jordan Devlin is the best idea.
I think Devlin would be the one I would go for. That's the one I would like the most. Yeah. I mean, Edge then to team with Balor after they had their big feud. We'll see. I mean, they've just done some weird things before. He's been a part of the Brood. So, Santos Escobar to be the MVP in the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. We'll be getting there a couple of seconds' time now. Sinisters are going with Seth Rollins to win the match there. Bullet Club Gold in AEW is Bad Bullet Club Blue, a.k.a. the OC. Bullet Club Purple, and the Judgment Day is way, way worse. We don't need any more Bullet Clubs at this point. There is a lot of them in wrestling. NXT.
Yeah, I can't even count how many split off parts they've got because I'm sure there's a version in Impact. I think there's 2 versions in New Japan. There's a version in All Elite. So yeah, they just need to try and work out what form of what a Bullet Club is. I mean, don't even know who the leader is anymore.
It's David Finlay is the current one. He kicked Jay White out of the group.
Yeah, that's right. But he's Bullet Club Black and Gold, and it's like, what is that supposed to be? An NWO Wolfpack kind of thing? I don't know.
Probably. They're just beating the Wolfpack. It's for life. That's literally what it is. It's for life. Adabred says, we're not talking about it. No, we haven't because we've not got some Money in the Bank ladder matches yet. Bronson taking out Nakamura and then taking his place. That's certainly, you wouldn't rule it out. Bronson Reed's been in the storyline somewhere. So I wouldn't be surprised, but mainly for Bronson Reed's gain. And Lisa asking about the atrocious neck tattoo, Cody Rhodes, thing awful. I mean, you can't, I suppose Cody could get rid of it, I suppose, if they needed to. But yeah, I don't think that's Triple H and Vince McMahon's idea. They've used it and worked with it for Cody's logo, and they've kind of run with it.
It's a brand now. That's the thing. It's a brand. That's what you said. That's what WWE will do, is they will sell him as a brand.
Absolutely. And do you know what else is a brand? Money in the Bank. Let's talk about a ladder match, shall we? These segues are getting worse. Let's talk about it then. So we've got 7 men Money in the Bank ladder match. We've got Damian Priest of the Judgment Day. We've got Butcher the Boring Brutes, Santos Escobar of LWO, LA Knight. Yeah. We've got Shinsuke Nakamura, Ricochet, and Logan Paul, the social media megastar. So yeah, that's basically, we've had 6 qualifying matches and we have had Logan Paul announced he's going to be in it. Now, I must admit, I did do a video at the start of the month suggesting Logan Paul would make a lot of sense to be in this match. Please don't boo me. We're going to go through people one by one, and we're going to talk about their chances, and at the end, we're going to basically have a prediction. So first and foremost, let's talk about Santos Escobar, LWO, a great performer, great experience in ladder matches. Of course, did take part in a fantastic one on NXT's TakeOver Stand and Deliver the first year against Jordan Devlin. Funnily enough, for the Cruiserweight Championships, the unification match was an outstanding ladder match. So he knows how to do this stuff. Of course, he's been in Lucha Underground doing great sort of lucha things over there as well. Part of the LWO. I think he'll have a great showcase moment, but I don't see him winning. How do you see it?
Exactly like you said. I think for me, since that Cruiserweight run, Santos has not had the... He's story-wise, he's always been involved. He just has nothing to look back on. Like I don't think he's had any championship runs since being the Cruiserweight champion, or since it was retired, or wasn't it merged with the North American Championship, I believe. So yeah, it's just a bit unlucky thing for him. But yeah, he's in this to. I don't want to say it, but I think I have to. I think he's in here to sell merch. I think he's in there so that they can sell a couple more LWO t-shirts over here in the UK. Not that they needed to try hard, because Do you know what I mean? It's just like the NWO. It's cool as hell. You don't need to. It just sells itself.
It could also be an argument we could be making again in about 10, 15 minutes time with the women's Money in the Ladder match. But we'll talk about Butch next. I mean, let's be honest with Butch. I kind of feel the same. He's the UK hometown boy, going to get the big pop. For me, I don't see him winning the match. I think the best we can hope for is instead of seeing Butch, we see the name Pete Dunne come on the screen.
Yeah, I think that will be a massive pop if they go back to his old music and Pete Dunne pops up on that Titantron. I think it'll be unreal. I'd say I would pop for it.
I would pop for it as well. A part of me thinks it will never happen, but I'm going to predict it anyway because I want it to happen. And I think if it doesn't happen here, it will never happen.
Yeah, it is getting to that point where it's like, okay, we've been hearing for weeks now that they're going to go back to Pete Dunne. I think it's almost probably been a year since we've heard this. And it's a case of, if not when, then probably never.
Absolutely. Not to go full 1950s on everybody, but it's a bit like Elvis Presley. It's now or never. The references will get more modern, I promise. Yeah, so we don't think Butch is going to be winning this. So let's move on to everybody's, a lot of people's favourite high flyer, Ricochet. He's good for a ladder match, isn't he? Because no doubt he's going to do some insane spot. I imagine another probably viral moment with Logan Paul is probably coming, but I don't see him winning that briefcase. And probably if he did, I could see him waiting till Braun came back for a tag team title match. So all the more reason I don't want it to happen.
He is in one of my favorite ladder matches of all time, which was the inaugural NXT ladder match for the North American Championship. And I'm going to go with the same result, and I'm going to say he's not going to win because he had a great display in that, which is, again, I think the reason why he's in here is to do some crazy outlandish stuff. But I unfortunately don't think he's going to get the briefcase this time.
I'm really hoping it builds to Ricochet versus Logan Paul at SummerSlam. Now, I know some people say, but that's not a big enough match for Logan Paul. But imagine what it would do for Ricochet. The two high-flying spots they've had this year. If they have two viral moments in two different matches to then go to a SummerSlam match, you've actually got a chance of doing something with Ricochet. And I think that could actually be bigger than winning a Money in the Bank here.
I think that it would actually probably be a lot more of an attention thing for the fact that if we got a second one with Ricochet, because I think people would pay attention more and be like, do you know what? That's the second time I've seen this guy with Logan Paul. I maybe need to check out what this guy's doing. So that's a pretty good shout.
Let's hope something like that may happen. But again, not someone that I have winning this match. But yeah, I mean, look, let's bring the graphic back up for everybody again here. But let's next go in then and talk about Shinsuke Nakamura, obviously, in this match as well. For me, Nakamura, I think, is making up the numbers. We've been talked about in the comments there, the idea of Bronson Reed. There's been a rivalry of him and Ricochet as well. Do you see anything with Nakamura exciting coming out of this match?
Unfortunately not. Like I said, the story with him at the minute is more based with Bronson Reed. It just doesn't fit for me. I can't see where they're going to go with it, if you know what I mean. With some of the other people, I can see the story arc and where it will go to. In this, for instance, if it was to carry on for another 12 months, I think if Shinsuke was to win this would be a cash-in on the same night because I don't think they'd have faith in it 6 months down the line.
No, I think, again, if Nakamura wins, it's the IC title. That's how I personally see it. So we've ruled out 4 names. This is where now it gets tasty because I now want to just see if you agree with me. The 3 names that are left, Damian Priest, LA Knight, and Logan Paul, are the 3 favourites for this match.
They are indeed.
Okay, so let's talk about them, and then we'll make a prediction.
Hang on. Let's do it in more of a fun way. Ranking them from third to third. So we'll start with our third. We'll both say it at the same time, and we'll say who we think the least favourite is to win it.
Of those 3. That's so hard.
Yeah, so we'll count it down. So just say a name at the same time, and then we'll talk.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Logan Paul.
LA Knight.
Oh my God! Why are you doing this to me?
Right, this is not going to play into my prediction. I'm now thinking as if it's Vince or Triple H. I think if Triple H got his way, I think there's a chance that LA wins this match. If Vince is signing this off on the booking, you're going with favourites. Favourites is different to a prediction, so keep that in mind. LA Knight has got all of them have all the tools here, and yeah, that's just the thought process on favourites.
I for the pure fact that Logan Paul has already had he's had a main event match with Roman Reigns in Saudi Arabia. I can't for the life of me understand why they would give him a Money in the Bank contract when he is not a concurrent wrestler on TV every week. Doesn't make sense for me. I just cannot see it. He wins the briefcase, and then what? We don't see the briefcase for 3 months. Is he going to do a Brock Lesnar and just come back occasionally with it? I could not see it happening. I think it would be, and again, my biggest gripe with the Money in the Bank match is that they always don't take the briefcase and make a story arc out of it. And for a guy that is essentially a spot monkey at this point, because he comes in and just has viral moments, him winning the briefcase just does absolutely nothing for me.
So here's why I think it can work. And we've not done 2 and 1 yet, but we're going on favourites, and I'll go with prediction afterwards. But why I think it makes sense for Logan Paul. You said there the idea of him going away for 3 months at a time. There are 2 Money in the Bank ladder matches, and there is an opportunity of WWE then having to come up with the same storyline twice. And this is why I think they get lazy and make someone cash in on the same night every time, so they only have to worry about one briefcase. If Logan Paul is flashing that thing around everywhere afterwards on Impulsive or wherever he's going with one of Jake Paul's boxing matches or somewhere, he's got a briefcase. Right. He's got a briefcase wherever he goes.
My God.
And he's on TV everywhere. It's the same as Bad Bunny with the 24/7 championship.
Oh my God,
that thing doesn't sound right at all. But it's a case of
the context you're talking about is so right. It's unreal.
And yeah, because the thing is, you generally will forget about Logan Paul until the night he cashes in. And then your fear factor really goes of, is he going to win a world title?
This is like I was saying with Seth being champion next year when that Marvel film, the Captain America film comes out. It makes sense to have him as champion because he's good. I mean, WWE want a guy walking around, oh yeah, I'm in this Marvel film, I'm WWE champion, whatever. Oh my God, you've reversed it on me with Logan Paul. I can't believe I've fallen for this trap.
It's a scary trap.
It actually is a reality, isn't it?
It's a possibility. That's why I said it's one of the top. They're all favourites. I see them all.
Yeah,
they're all too close to call for me. They're all too close to call.
Yeah.
But let's go with number 2 then, and that gives away number 1. So who do you think is 2 then?
LA Knight.
I think Logan Paul is 2. So let's talk about who we think is the favourite then. Damian Priest.
Damian Priest for me is the favourite of this match because of the fact that he was given such a big responsibility. He had to have this, a San Juan street fight with Bad Bunny at Backlash. The big show in Puerto Rico, all sold around this one moment. And let's be fair, it was a 10 out of 10. If we're going baseball, he knocked it out of the park. It takes 2 to tango. Everyone talks about how great Bad Bunny was. Bad Bunny was amazing in the match. But what about his dance partner? His dance partner made him look like that as well. Priest took the fall on the night, did everything that needed to be done on that night. Priest has to get a thank you somewhere. And here's the other thing that makes me think the Priest is a favourite. And it's one of them little nuggets that WWE likes to do all the time. And they may do the same thing if he was to win the briefcase. Priest has been having matches and losing. He's been facing Cody Rhodes. He lost. He faced Seth Rollins. He lost. He's getting the no momentum. All these main eventers.
Yeah, all these. He's been flirted in the idea of being in a main event, and then the idea is everyone goes, "Oh, but he's losing the match. He's losing that match. When's his moment going to come?" Well, it's going to matter when it matters most. Money in the bank. And it goes back to that fantasy booking thing I had earlier on. The thing for Damian Priest is he wins when it counts. He got a number 1 contendership for the Judgment Day at some point for the tag team titles. Winning Money in the Bank is when it counts. He doesn't need to win them for 6 months until he cashes it in because he's got that cash in. I think Damian Priest is the favourite of the 3. The thing is, though, if we're going to be honest here, I had to talk about the reasons why LA Knight I put a number 3. Now I'm going to talk about the reasons why he's my number 1. Because of the fact that, I'll be honest with you, my head tells me Damian Priest is winning this match. But I can't help it. I've been an LA Knight fan for the longest time, nearly a decade. The guy has got catchphrases. The guy is over like Rover. I've seen his clips with Chris Van Vliet. He's saying he realised in a show in Detroit, followed with Pittsburgh, followed with New York, the reactions just got bigger and better. He got put in with Bray Wyatt, and at the end of it, everyone's supposed to be talking about Bray Wyatt. They were talking about LA Knight. LA Knight was special. He's got the catchphrase, like I said, let me talk to you. Yeah. Just literally, he's the megastar. Whose game is it? It's LA Knight's game. Every catchphrase, it is singing and ringing with every fan. And there comes a point where everybody is invested. And the thing is, we talked about Logan Paul. When he reaches for that briefcase, everyone's going to worry. Everyone's going to be so. It's going to be like if Dominik Mysterio was in the match. Everyone's going to be scared that he's going to actually get the briefcase for the reasons I've explained, by the way, because everyone thinks, well, Logan Paul probably would cash in and would win. With Damian Priest, it's a thing of like respect. We understand it. But Damian Priest, although I like LA Knight is an older superstar, there's still ways you can get Damian Priest there without the briefcase. LA Knight's different. LA Knight, you could argue, needs this briefcase because LA Knight is over right now, but he's been doing mid-card matches. He's had matches with Rhodes, with Xavier Woods. He's had now a little program with Santos Escobar, Rey Mysterio. These are lower to mid-card matches. LA Knight wins that briefcase, who's so over, by the way, right now. Have I not said that already? He goes straight up the pecking order. He can go for any championship he wants. They've said any world title. We mentioned Carmelo Hayes being on TV. I wouldn't rule out the NXT championship either. It's never been done before. Not that that's necessarily what I want, by the way, either. But for me, LA Knight, it's not now or never. If LA Knight doesn't win this, it counts more how they book him after this because LA Knight does have trajectory as well. People are behind him. There is something there. But I think with him, if we're going with time consuming, it probably matters to him more than it matters to the other two. What are your thoughts on the pro then for LA Knight?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you want to strike while the iron is hot, LA Knight is the absolute 100% right way to go. I mean, the guy, if they could just they need to almost find, like how Austin had the Austin 316 shirt, if they could find a bit of merchandise that would tie in perfectly with LA Knight, you'd have a number one seller on your hand. That's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons why I don't think he's winning, unless he's got something. Unless you know something I don't know, possibly. I think that he hasn't got that thing where they can turn around and go, right, if he wins this, we're going to sell out X amount of these t-shirt because he's so fan favorite at the minute. It's unreal. It's just a case of if. Some people are saying it's too soon since he come up.
Yeah.
To be honest, he's been around for ages. He was fluffing about being Max Dupree for a little while, which, do you know what I mean? Again, one of the things you'll just never forgive Vince for. It's like you could see how over the guy was in NXT, and you ended up bringing him up and putting him as a manager of a bunch of male models. It didn't make sense. Luckily enough, we've forgotten about that. But the one key thing you've said there is time, and LA Knight is not getting any younger.
No. But to be fair, though, AJ Styles came in 2016, was in his 40s, had a great 4 or 5 years. There is time to do it.
I think for me, the biggest problem is that the champions are, because it's LA Knight at the end of the day, and we all pretty much know that guy is not going to cash in for anything less than a world title. It's going to be a world championship or a undisputed universal championship. And he can't beat either of the guys at there. He's not ready for a Seth Rollins. He's definitely not ready for a Roman Reigns. I think if he was going to do it, it would probably be next year once Roman's lost, once the World Championship has established itself as better, or it's been on someone who's had a bit of a run with it. But for me is why I can't say LA Knight. I think it is just too soon.
Fair enough. I think it's a fair point and a fair argument. I'm interested to see what our chat's got to say in a minute. It's 34 comments that's in there at the moment. But just to answer something that you said, there was now 35. Something that you mentioned there about something that could be missing. It could be a t-shirt seller. I don't know if anyone's written that in there now, but if you have, I'll give you the credit afterwards. But dummy was one of his catchphrases from Impact Wrestling. He'd always follow that with the dummy, yeah. And it's almost like if you can get over like a what chant, literally like someone says something and you've got like dummy, yeah, I think that potentially you could get that on the t-shirt. I think LA Knight has got a way of getting that over. It was probably my least favorite catchphrase of his back in Impact Wrestling. But I think if he was to incorporate that into WWE, into its marketing today, I think you put that on a t-shirt, and I think that you've got something more in your hands there. And I think Look, he is potential to be the megastar. And like I said to you, I'm gonna be honest with everybody. My head prediction is Damian Priest. That is really the prediction. But I'm gonna say what the people want me to
In
say
your heart.
because because my heart wants that as well. So I'm gonna say LA Knight. But I don't think he will, but I want him to win it.
Yeah. I mean, for me, Damian Priest just makes, like, let's be honest, out of the three of them, Priest is probably the least favourite. If you was to just take an average fan who'd only been watching wrestling for maybe the last 6 months, Priest is probably the least most notable one. Like, you've got Logan Paul, the viral superstar who's got X amount of millions of followers on YouTube, blah, blah, blah. You've got LA Knight. And like I said, if you've been watching it casually for the last couple of months, you know who LA Knight is because he's already made a name for himself. So Priest is kind of the outside favourite of the three. Only for the diehard fans that really know what Priest has been through, the Bad Bunny match and like the context. Like, do you know what I mean? We look at things a little bit more than just a casual fan. But for me, Priest going forward is just this. It makes more sense story-wise. I think there is a more interesting dynamic with Priest. How he wins it, how this then plays into the Judgment Day, his relationship with Finn, even possibly other things that I just, like I said, I think Priest has built himself back up now to the point where he's now ready for that main event scene when it was taken away from him a couple of years ago when he was doing that split personality gimmick. I think now is the right time. Okay, hometown crowd is is not really the right place to call for it. But, like you said, look at the match he put on. Bad Bunny had a fantastic showing, but it was his dance partner. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, they choreographed it to, like, do you know what I mean? They worked out, they talked to each other. They worked it all out together. I think Damian Priest is due his moment, and I think this is it.
It is. I think it is as well. And I'm going to say that I think, and this is going to be the last bit where I leave it off because they've said any world championship is available, any championship they can go for. We talked about Gunther earlier. I think he's the one dethroning Gunther. That's what I think it will be. That's the early pick now, but it can all change. Let's go into the comments because goodness, thank you first off from the comments. I love all of you for all of these comments you throw in. You keep us interactive. You keep us going. So thank you. Without all of you, this wouldn't be a channel. Would have been over in 20 minutes. Eric Douglas says, I think, unfortunately, Logan Paul wins Money in the Bank. So there we go. There's a potential idea there. Tusa McCall says, not sure if it's the right pick, but I'm going with my heart. Do go with the heart. It's always good to go with the heart. Yeah. LA Knight there. Tusa McCall goes on to say, Logan doesn't need Money in the Bank. He literally got a world title match just from tweeting. He is Money in the Bank champion any match and a feud they want without the briefcase. And to be fair, I think he wants a match with John Cena. So I mean, perhaps maybe that could be something at SummerSlam. Joe Cena, if he's still in the house, that could be something that maybe you might be interested. Who knows? Santos Escobar turning on Rey Mysterio. Adam, I completely agree with you. I think that'll be probably near WrestleMania season. That will potentially be the place I would say at that point. Doesn't like the Guns at first, says Temple Plays, but wrestlers grow on me and their entrance and change of character is perfection. Absolutely. They just need 50 Cent more often. That's all they need now, and then they're done.
I saw the perfect thing about the Guns the other day was that they shouldn't have taken the titles off the Acclaimed when they did for the Guns, but then they also shouldn't have taken the titles off the Guns when they did. So hopefully they can come back and rebuild it. Because I was actually not a big fan of them until they put them with the Acclaimed, and then I found them highly entertaining.
Yeah, I've got to say that I'm getting more and more into the Guns as we go on. So, I think that, they're doing good stuff. Sheamus could help Pete Dunne, help him win, but it could cost Pete Dunne. We could get Dunne versus Sheamus in the SummerSlam sledge match. I wonder what sledge match would be there, but certainly could be interesting stuff indeed. Hopefully not in the snow. Adam Brad says Ricochet turning heel. I feel it coming. That would be interesting. If Ricochet heel turn in WWE would be something interesting. I know that my first watching him as Ricochet, I was first saw him as Prince Puma in Lucha Underground after glory days. But Ricochet is a heel in New Japan when he's taking on Will Ospreay. But Temple Place says Logan Paul to win Money in the Bank. To see Twitter cry about it, Vince, make it happen. And Vince would be the one to make it happen. And I must admit as well, there's something that made me think as well. Talk to Jonesy the other way. Jonesy picks Logan Paul to win this, by the way. I do actually think that they both have a good shout on it, because let's be fair, everyone qualified for the match, and then Logan Paul was kind of thrown into the match. It was almost as if like, well, everyone's going to go for a mid-card title, so Logan can win the world title. So I do see where everyone's coming from it, and I think there's a lot of logic and sense of why Logan Paul would win this.
I'm so angry that the fact that you've persuaded me that Logan Paul is honestly a realistic possibility for winning this now. The fact that you just turned around and said, imagine how viral a tweeted picture of him holding that briefcase would be.
Yeah,
it would be unreal, and WWE would be gassed at that. It's a good possibility now.
I mean, to be fair, I don't know how much those briefcases cost on WWEshop.com, but imagine how many people will be buying them. They'll probably sell out. You know, it's just. I don't want to use an LA Knight slogan because it might make me unpopular, but that's not an insult. It's just a fact of life. It is what it is. We can't get around it. Sinesha says, I heard a rumor that Vince is booking Raw, so LA Knight may not win. He won't cash in on Roman successfully. Vince definitely does have the final say on everything. If Vince doesn't sign it off, it doesn't happen. Thank you, Tom Collique.
Thought Knight was on SmackDown.
Knight was on SmackDown, but certainly LA Knight has appeared on Raw. It did appear on Raw, not this week, but last week he did. The draft, ladies and gentlemen, it makes no sense. LA Knight, we're going to keep it. Every time someone does it, I will do the at some point, you can't deny it. The reactions he's getting. Knight is already in his 40s. It's got to be now, and that's the thing. I understand. If it's not the briefcase, it's got to be now still, and they've got to book it right outside of it.
We could just be like, for as much as he's been saying like, oh, I'm going to win it, and I've got the perfect opportunity to cash it in. This could be exactly like 2016 Money in the Bank when Dean Ambrose was giving us all the clues through the show that he was going to win and cash in, and we just thought, nah, that's never going to happen. It could.
He's good, and I like that. Like you said here, those videos on social media, it feels like the sign. It feels it could be there. It could be written in the stars. And to be fair, I do think London is going to be massively behind LA Knight. I can see that he's going to probably have the biggest. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets the biggest pop of the whole night, and that includes even the UK talent. It wouldn't surprise me. Temple Plays says Santos Escobar, Ricochet stare down and copy their ladder match spots that he did in Lucha Underground would mark me out, or even Ricochet having Puma tights on would be fire. That would be fire indeed. I can't see Santos doing the King Queno gimmick again, unfortunately, but certainly like where your head's at. I do like where your head's at. What if Logan Paul was to cash on Seth Freakin Rollins successfully? He would become your world heavyweight champion. That's what would happen.
Why?
It's been put into the world. Don't blame me, anybody. Please don't blame me. Temple Play says this match is a spot fest. Totally agree. They could mirror the Royal Rumble moment for Logan Paul Ricochet. So true. Santos and Ricochet could go back to Lucha Underground for their leather match. Absolutely. It's all there. Joe Cena says Logan Paul to win Money in the Bank. Eric Douglas, I know you're a big Damian Priest fan, is happy. Yes, Priest, the favorite. Let's go. Of course, we've got Adam Brad says, oh, shoot. By stories, wow, SCW is getting very interesting. Wow, I can't pick. I'm pleased that we're putting a bit of doubt in some people's minds because there is a lot of favourites in this match. It could go either way. I think them top three, it could go any way. It really could. Temple says Logan Paul wins the men's Money in the Bank leather match to open Money Bank, cashes on Rollins on the same night just to see Twitter crumble. And let's be fair, Elon Musk would have a job on his hands because I think it really would crumble. Too Sweet Carl says, if it's not Knight, I think it's Priest. I think I see what you're saying for sure, Steve. Absolutely. To be fair, I always have, I know we're getting long into the stream here, by the way, so apologies for anyone that's sticking around. Usually I've got a good idea coming into these streams of who I'm going to pick for every match, sometimes weeks in advance. This was one match that I couldn't split between them three. Even when you said to me, pick you, I was like, don't make me pick, because I can't think of why I was going to go. It was literally organically came out of my mouth, and unfortunately I had to do, again, I'm a Friends fan. That's always been the way. I had to do the Joey game. I had to clear my mind, and had to do those things. Well, what would you rather? And there we go. I went from there. But yeah, it's one of them things. Temple Plays says, my heart says LA Knight, but my gut says Logan Paul. Always go with the heart, my friend, because, the gut's not always a favourable place. Travis says, Logan Paul and LA Knight climb the ladder together for the briefcase. Lights goes out. Sheep mask Eric Rowan. Travis, what have you been drinking? Take the music, and then we see a return for Bray this Saturday at Money in the Bank. I think it would be personally an American show, but never ruled it out.
He's been teasing it online, Eric Rowan.
He has. Yeah, well, there we go. I tell you what, Travis, if it happens, I'm going to give you all the credit. I will give you the flowers. That's what I'll do if it happens. Temple says, Steve, with the outlandishest puns, never gets old. But I do, sadly. That's always the worst part about it. But Joe says, my whole body is saying Logan Paul to win. And that's coming from Super Cena as well there. Logan Paul is 28 years old. LA Knight is 40 years old. Remember, WWE usually push younger stars for Money in the Bank. More sense is being made into Logan Paul the more we talk about it. Temple Place says Logan Paul.
I refuse to believe it.
Wins. You could do a swerve with LA Knight beating him for the briefcase down the line like Edge did with Mr. Kennedy. That's a fascinating idea. I like the sound of that. You have the big moment on the night.
LA Knight versus Logan Paul would be, from both sets of perspectives, from an outside and an inside perspective, would actually be quite a huge match. You think about it, Logan Paul, who is the outside massive superstar, versus LA Knight, who is the big in wrestling, like big star. It actually makes a lot of sense. It
does make a lot of sense. I tell you what, we're talking about LA Knight needs some momentum after this. That's the match LA Knight needs. That is the match.
Yeah.
Because when he did the line after, he said, "Do you make videos for 14-year-old girls?" Like, literally, like that. Those lines, if he can get that going out there, that can get into Austin Rock levels. That really can do in one program, because everyone's going to hate Logan Paul.
I wouldn't be surprised if we now see that at SummerSlam.
Absolutely. And do you know what could be even more fun, Temple, if it was the other way around? That LA Knight wins the briefcase and Logan Paul goes to get the briefcase off of him. That could be an interesting way to go as well. Adam says, good point. Damian Priest in this Judgment Day story. Logan Paul, cause of Seth, and LA Knight, how good he is. It is difficult to choose. You could do a storyline where we get LA Knight versus Logan Paul for SummerSlam for the briefcase, or Mr. John Cena returns and cost Logan Paul the feud for SummerSlam. So this is interesting. I'm guessing is where he goes there. C Nation says Becky Lynch definitely isn't winning Money in the Bank. She ruined it last night when she touched the briefcase. C Nation, we are slightly ahead of the time here, but I tell you what, you are right. Lights go out and Bray Wyatt to cash in, to bring the case to LA Knight. Long-term storytelling. What the heck is going on here? Jack, you tell me what's going on here. I can't keep up with it. And to be fair, I don't even know what's going on with this next comment. It's so outrageous. I've got to read it. Logan Paul pulls in the David Arquette in WCW, wins the world title, and the end will be crazy. Steve boos, and all over the arena. It'll be like the 90s again. What's going to happen next? Is Vince Russo booking the show? Jack Michael, please tell me, is Vince Russo booking the show? LA Knight could cash in on the Raw World title, but I do not think it'll be successful. It'd be the better way for him to go. LA Knight is still going to be the Richmond vs. C Nation just to be safe. And hurry so we can talk with AEW. Clarkson, what I'm going to promise you, we'll do it another day. We're going to be well into 2 hours here by the time we do it. You've got crazy ideas, though. I'll tell you what, I'm going to do. I've got a post up about AEW Forbidden Door. Drop them in there for me, and we'll have a conversation about it, and we'll try and do a video for it later in the week. Temple Place says Goldberg wins Money in the Bank Lesnar style. We're moving on. That's the perfect time to move on. Temple plays a lovely style, but please don't do it to us. Let's move on and let's go to the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. We need to move on. We're nearly 2 hours in the stream. We've got 2 matches to go. We've got Io Sky. We've got Bayley of Damage Control. We've got Trish Stratus and Zoe Stark there as well. We've got Zelina Vega of the LWO and Becky Lynch there. Wow, what a lineup for Money in the Bank. Arguably 2 sets of teams as well. I do wonder if that was when the thought process of why Shotzi didn't get the qualifying match in the end. Could it have been Shotzi taking Bayley's place? We couldn't have that because Bayley, for me, we need the song. We need the Hey Bayley song. That's a must for Money in the Bank. But what I think we should do, NXT, we should go through competitors once again, and then we should perhaps go to maybe, I don't know, a top couple of favorites and then go from there. But I must admit, I have a clear prediction for this one. So do you want to do the same as last time?
I have an outsider for me. Mine's a complete shot in the dark.
Okay, right. Well, if yours is a complete shot in the dark, I'm going to talk about a couple of favorites first that are not going to be mine. But yeah, let's talk about it. Let's talk about Becky Lynch then first. Obviously, C Nation mentioned a couple of moments ago. She's the top babyface in this match. she's, hometown vibes as well. Obviously, obviously, I know she's from Ireland, but she's done a lot around the UK circuit. But I mean, for her, she doesn't need Money in the Bank. I know she wants to make Rhea squirm with the idea of her having the briefcase, but the long-term story is Trish Stratus. I do think we'll get to Becky versus Rhea eventually, but I think it's going to be after SummerSlam at the earliest. I do believe that we are looking at Becky Lynch not winning here.
No, I can't see Becky winning. Just for all the points you just said, I think that again, Trish is the longer story. They need a third and final match in their story arc to see where that goes. Plus, that I feel will also help Zoe Stark elevate a bit more as well. I think that it's actually perfect. It's actually these two being against each other is actually perfect for Zoe Stark.
Absolutely, I would agree with that. But Zoe Stark's the name you mentioned there. She's not your outside, is she? No, she's not mine either. I think she's there to make up the numbers. She'll probably take a big spot in the match, but she's there to help cancel Becky from winning it.
Yeah, exactly. Becky's supposed to be the man, like two belts Becky. So essentially two people taking her out. It's effectively the arc that they're going to say that Becky's not winning this.
Absolutely. I'm going to save Trish for the minute. Let's talk about Zelina Vega. LWO, there to sell some merch. Can do a couple of crazy spots. She can do some crazy Street Fighter stuff in the Rumble earlier this year. She's definitely getting more over. She had a great chance to have a breakout moments with Backlash. Great to see here, but again, I think she makes up the numbers.
I think Zelina wins.
Wow. Okay.
I think Zelina is the shot in the dark for this match. After how she was so done over by Costa in the hometown match she had with Rhea. I forget where it was. Puerto Rico, I believe. Yeah, I think that she is long overdue something. Don't forget, this is the first ever Queen of the Ring. Okay, He's not something that is beyond her possibilities. I'm not being funny. We've seen Carmella win Money in the Bank matches when she was least favorite, and it always I feel more often than not a least favorite is more likely to win the women's Money in the Bank match than a favorite. So for me, I'm actually going Zelina. I think that Zelina has done enough to justify the point that someone turns around and goes, "Do you know what, Zelina? You've earned this Money in the Bank briefcase, and we're going to give it to you." And I think as well, it actually helped the LWO, aside from selling T-shirts. I think it would actually give them a story and something to be on TV for.
Absolutely. Interesting points there. I've got to say, I'm not against your arguments. A former women's tag team champion as well, with Carmella, funnily enough. So you can't rule it out. One thing I will say, maybe mention Carmella, I think that the person that wins this briefcase will hold it the second longest ever, because there's no women's championship matches on this night. Therefore, they have to wait at least 2 days before they can cash it in, unless they call out the champion.
That's a fair point. It's amazing though that Carmella, the women's briefcase, has the longest and shortest reigns of holding time with a briefcase. Because even with the men's, Carmella's reign with a briefcase is still longer than any of the men's ones.
It is. She is the longest of all time. So that's it's a fun one. And they made reference to that on Raw as well this past week. I'd like to see a lengthy reign this time, but we'll see if it does or doesn't happen. But as then we've got your prediction, we'll go through, and the last one will be my prediction. I think that's probably then the best way to do this. So I'll talk about Trish Stratus next then. First Money in the Bank ladder match for her. I think, again, the same. It's to cancel Becky out. They're going to make that match for SummerSlam, Becky versus Trish. And Becky will probably get her win back at that show, I'm guessing, in some form or fashion. But it's going to be great to see Trish get the opportunity to beat in Money in the Bank. And to be honest with you, she's never had the opportunity when she was having a full-time career. So I'm glad she gets her moment here.
I think it's just a case of that. I'm glad that they're actually we was all surprised when Trish was drafted. So the fact that we're seeing her in things like Money in the Bank, especially as I can't remember a lot of times that Trish has ever actually performed in front of a British crowd. So I think this may be one of the few times she's probably ever had the opportunity while working for WWE to perform. So again, I think this is just another one for the fans actually to say that, look, Hall of Famer here. Do you know what I mean? One of the best of all time to ever do it. I think it's great.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm loving it, but I don't see her winning, and neither do you, clearly. So we come down to two people, Io Sky and Bayley. Damage control. So yeah, I think that I'm better to give my prediction here rather than say who's not my winner, because otherwise you know my winner. So my prediction is going to be Io Sky. I think that it is the right time. She's got history of winning ladder matches. I think Bayley doesn't need it. I do think there is an argument here that Bayley could still win it, and that the ultimate goal is to get over Io Sky. I think that that's the idea of this ladder match, in my personal opinion. But I think that it does the job better by Io winning. I think that Bayley can get jealous of the idea of her having the briefcase. I think that Bayley could cost her on a cash-in even if they wanted to do that. Or they can just have where they feud over the briefcase. They have multiple different ways that they could go about this. And I think that they could play this over a course of weeks, maybe even months. And I think that that can actually give us a story with a women's Money in the Bank briefcase, which we've not seen since Carmella. So I'm actually confident that I'm going to say Io Sky. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was Bayley on the night and that she fails the cash-in, and then she stops Io winning the championship, and then that could lead to a problem with Damage Control, full stop. But for me, or it could even be that Io has a championship match against, say, Asuka, for example, and Bayley intervenes, does a Seth Rollins, wins the championship, takes it away from Io. That's how you do it. But I will still stick and say Io, because I think Io could do with that. The win here is the breakout moment.
Yeah, and I think as well, this actually helps them, especially with Dakota not being available. Like if they prolong it long enough, it'll give Dakota time to then recover, even maybe be involved in the story in some way as well, just to add an extra dynamic to it. But I like the idea of Io just facing Asuka and Bayley cashing in and doing another heist of the century. I think that's a really, really interesting way of doing it. It makes, especially if Bayley pins Io, for instance, to win the title, I think that's going to be that'd be absolutely crazy.
It would be crazy. Imagine that happened. Oh, that's a unique twist of the storyline. There's a reason I put Bayley with the Money in the Bank on the thumbnail, mainly because she posed with it. I wouldn't do it without her posing with it, because there would be no way I could get the graphic. But at the same time, I do think there is a possibility, but I will stick with Io Sky. I think that the moment is there for her. But Silk, Alex, Steve, you have gone with Zelina Vega. I have gone with Io Sky. We have gone for a breakout moment. That is what we have done. It is time to go into the chat and see what you have all said. Let's have a look then and see where we are. Let's go. Right. Zoe Stark to become Miss Money in the Bank with a wink from Temple Plays. Another breakout star. So it looks like we've got some breakouts going out in the comments here. But Joe Cena is going for Becky to win. I like that as well. We've got some varied answers here. We've been told by Drew, we don't realize this, but let's do it. Man got 7 and women got 6. Is there going to be a mystery 7th this Saturday? Mandy Rose. I don't know if it'd be Mandy, Drew, but it's a good question. There was 6 women in this match. Is there a chance for a late edition of 7? To be fair, the only name I would say is because she was going to have a chance to get into the match would have been Shotzi. But what do you see?
Hey, we've still got a SmackDown to go, so anything's a possibility. Like I said, I'm trying to think like even maybe a Piper Niven, just for the fact that she's a British female wrestler. Do you know what I mean? Just like she somehow weasels her way in on Friday, and she's just in it for the sake of being in it.
Yeah, absolutely, indeed. Absolutely. And to be fair, like you say, we are recording ahead of time, so we'll see how it does play out. So says you can make a case for everyone in this match. I have no idea who wins, but I don't think Becky does after what we saw on Raw with her holding up the briefcase. It really did hurt Becky's chances. It's something you just don't do. Joe Cena, Adam...
If you go by...
Go on.
I was going to say, if you go by Kevin Owens' TikTok account, she's been practicing. The two of them have been practicing on the ladders all week, so...
You have to wait and see. John Cena has been in London. Anything could happen. Joe Cena, maybe you'll get your wish. We'll have to wait and see. Travis has got Trish Stratus. I'll tell you why. After Raquel and Liv lose, Raquel could leave Liv. Becky climb a ladder. And we can see hooded Raquel chokeslam Becky and then help Trish win and join with Zoe. It almost feels like what Dakota Kai, what she did for her back in the day. But yeah, be interesting. I don't think it will happen, but I definitely like the fantasy booking and the idea there of Raquel. Who cost? Yeah, I see actually where you've put the link there. Raquel match was cost from Becky because Raquel should have been this ladder match. Do you know what, Travis? I've warmed to that by that second sentence a lot more. I've warmed to that. A Becky versus Raquel match does intrigue me. I would like to see a heel Raquel Rodriguez at some point.
Yeah, she did all her best work on NXT as a heel, so I'd like to see her return to that character as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Zelina is married to Malachi. Rhea is going out with Buddy. Zelina cashes in on Rhea Ripley. Goodness me. Imagine that at the house.
I love it. That's a great. I didn't even think about that. That's amazing.
It's fun, isn't it? Clarkson says, I've got Zelina Vega. So we've got a second one for Zelina Vega there. Clarkson then following up says, I'm going to tell you right now, but ain't Canadian and Britain the same thing. Trish is Canada. Trish is Canada indeed. And all we can say is thank you, Trish. Thank you for coming back and doing what you do. Two says the Bayley EO dynamic with EO winning would be fun. I like that indeed. Two speak Carl. Victor says I've got EO, but Dakota can return. Also with Bayley and Dakota said that they want a Piper Niven with them. EO falls, Piper Niven attacks her, kick out, and then Piper's holding the ladder for Bayley to win. That would be a good way to do it. I mean, it's a perfect place to get Piper in as well. So, yeah, I'm not against that idea at all. Trevor says, what is this Money in the Bank, SCW? And Steve got a lot of intriguing stuff. Who I want to win. Also, Forbidden Door pay-per-view was good. And now Money in the Bank, it's such a crazy button. Competition is good. Competition is good. And wrestling is good. And, yeah. Enjoy wrestling. There's a lot of good stuff out there.
Money in the Bank isn't going to collide with Collision next weekend either, or this weekend.
No. Yeah, so if you like everything, you can watch everything. Perfect world indeed. I think we've concluded with that, and we've got 2 hours into the stream, and we've still got to talk about the main event.
It's that time where we debate if Roman Reigns is ever going to lose a match.
Exactly. Let's do it. It is the Bloodline Civil War, ladies and gentlemen. Roman and Solo Sikoa versus the Usos taking place. Who will be the ones? I like that slogan that's there. Obviously, the story kind of has played out, obviously, since Night of Champions. Jimmy Uso hitting the super kick around the world that everybody heard. Obviously, from there onwards, the question was what's going to happen with Jey Uso? Was he going to fall in line? Was he going to be with his brother? What was going to happen? Jey Uso said, well, if he's going to be in the bloodline, Paul Heyman's going to be out of the bloodline. So, Paul Heyman, don't get so cocky and don't get so happy. It came down to the magic moment where Jey Uso basically called his shot. And Roman said, well, he's my wise man. He's not your wise man. He's not the bloodline's wise man. He's my wise man. They've been telling him, you'll be the tribal chief one day. And when you are the tribal chief, then you'll get to pick your wise man. But until then, Paul is my wise man. They even talked about then Jey Uso being the right-hand man. And the person that didn't like it, because Paul Heyman came up with the name, the person who didn't like it was Jimmy Uso. And of course, Jey asked if that's true. Jimmy said, yeah, that's true. Jey reminded him, look, everyone says you've always got to look up to your older brother. You've always got to follow you. You were always the prom king, the one that was most likely to succeed. So, look, the decision has been made because once you were out, I had the opportunity, I stepped up. Decision's been made. Jimmy, you're out of the bloodline. So am I. And that super kick was hit there with Roman Reigns. So poetic, so beautiful. And there is sometimes moments in professional wrestling you just feel such satisfaction. That was one of them. 3 years of storytelling to get to that moment. As Temple Plays always would say, long-term storytelling, and it's done at its finest there. And obviously from that point onwards, we see Solo trying to get involved as well because Solo has stuck with Roman Reigns. I've not mentioned that at the start of the story. He's stuck with him. He said the Usos, they're his family, but Roman's his tribal chief, and he's staying right now with Roman Reigns. Obviously, this has continued onwards as well. There was a double super kick from the Usos to Roman. Also, this past week on SmackDown, the Usos obviously did the double team on Solo Sikoa after the match with Sheamus. So this has been, it's still the hottest storyline in wrestling. Just when you think it's finished, it picks up other gears. It's been absolutely magical. Is there much more we can add to this? It's probably one of, if not the greatest storyline of all time in WWE.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I was just about to say myself, like, just when you think it's getting to the point where, like, I'm starting to get bored of the bloodline, they do something or have some sort of story or narrative or just something, a promo or an interview or whatever, and it just draws you back in again and go, God, I want to see more of it. It's been unreal. I mean, it probably has to go down as one of WWE's greatest ever storylines. I can't think of something that's gone on this long, if I'm honest. Like, I can't think of a storyline that's taken the span of 3 years. Do you know what I mean? It's a real rarity to see, like, not off the top of my head, but like, yeah, it's gonna be my whole again, I say this every time we get to a Roman Reigns matches, where we go afterwards. What's going to be the next part of the story? Because this is where I feel that if it's not done right, is where people will start souring and just being like, "Yeah, I'm done with it now." But every time I'm pleasantly surprised. We get whatever happened at the pay-per-view. This will probably be main event again because it's Roman Reigns, and there'll be some sort of crazy aftermath as well. Like, is this the point where Solo decides that he's had enough of Roman and he super kicks him, and then we get all three of them super kicking Roman? Who knows? But you're intrigued because you want to know what happens.
You really, really do, and that's the excitement. It's the buzz, and like you said, the follow-on of this story, because we know it ain't finished. That's one thing. Whatever happens here is carrying over to SummerSlam, and then we'll see where it goes after that. Looking at this for me, I'll break it down a little bit and see where I think that this can be heading. I feel that Jey Uso, they built him up as what could be the next tribal chief. It feels like for me, he could be Roman's challenger at SummerSlam. You could argue Jimmy could be that guy as well, because he was the one that did the super kick to begin with. If he gets a pinfall victory in this match, that could be the case. This is effectively, as well, although it's Bloodline Civil War, you're talking one of, if not the greatest tag team of all time in the Usos in WWE history now, against Roman and Solo, two single stars. That's what they are, the two single stars. But you have arguably the GOAT in Roman against his heavy Solo Sikoa. We've seen many times in WWE where the two top single stars beat the top tag team. It's not uncommon to see. But, and this is where I come into prediction before I go any further, because I think that the prediction needs to come in early. I think the Usos are going to do it. I think they're going to do it. And I think that the way they're going to do it, whoever does it is pinning Solo Sikoa. And Solo then loses 2 premium live events in a row, which is not great for Solo. But even more damaging, that's 2 premium live events in the row that Roman loses. And Roman don't lose. Roman's running out of people to blame. Does he blame the wise man because he should have kept the Usos? Or does he start blaming Solo Sikoa?
It'll also be the 3rd time he's lost in a tag team match this year, because he lost with Sami as well.
There you go. So Roman, and he didn't take the Sami one very well, did he? So he's not going to take it with his blood and family either. And there will be a point where the bloodline, I think, will continue, but the bloodline will be the Usos and Solo, and Roman will be fully exiled from the group, whether he is the sole heel or whether it's to the point that actually it's a double turn executed perfectly and we get the Roman face turn that WWE's always wanted, done in the very, very well done manner, remains to be seen. But I have a feeling here that I think that the friction is going to start with Roman and Solo coming out of this show, and we're going to build one of the Usos as the championship contender for SummerSlam, and I think it'll be Jey Uso.
See, for me, for that to work, I think they have to take Jimmy out of the equation in this match. I think that, yes, maybe the Usos can still pick up the win, but to get that Jey versus Roman, Jimmy needs to be injured and get written out story-wise. I don't know how, I don't know why, but that for me has to be the key point now. I mean, sure, Roman's obviously going to flip his lid for losing his 3rd tag match this year. And like you said, he doesn't lose matches. And 2 of them have been with Solo. 1 of them was with Sami. So there's always that intrigue to it. But then again, I wouldn't be surprised if they win and they still do the same and take Jimmy out of the equation, because I think that then I think that has more to it, because then Jey has a reason to go after Roman.
He does.
Because he
does. I've got a counter suggestion for you, because we're talking about the Uso that wins gets the championship match. What if Roman throws the dynamic out and it's made into a triple threat match? Because all right, Roman's outnumbered 2-on-1, but an Uso needs to be able to successfully get the pinfall to become the next head of the table, the next tribal chief. Does it come to a point where it brings friction between the brothers, and Roman is counting on that to retain his championship at SummerSlam? Could it be a triple threat between Roman, Jimmy, and Jey?
I don't think so. I think that the arc that they've just had in having Jimmy and Jey reunite after everything they've been through with Roman, like all the crap that they've put up with from Roman, like Jay being made into a main event guy, then being like absolutely down in the dumps from the way he was treated. It wouldn't make sense. Like I couldn't see the point of it where you've just had this bonding moment where they're brothers again, and like they both super kick Roman. I couldn't see how they both go into a triple threat match and then be beating each other up trying to pin Roman. I don't know, but then again, like I will say, but I'd be pleasantly surprised if they managed to do it some way.
I mean, the thing is, obviously, in a way, it's poetic because it's like, well, they are on the same page, but then they're putting the conflict of interest. How can you do it to each other now? You've just had the big bonding moment, but yet does one of you really want this more than anything?
Yeah.
There could always be the argument, though, that because Solo beats the pinfall, the Usos are willing the ones to take him in and back him up if there's problems with Roman and Solo, and it's Roman versus Solo at SummerSlam. Anything can happen with this storyline. We can't really predict where it's going to go because it's anything can happen. But one thing is for sure, we can make a prediction here, and I'm going to stick my neck out and say the Usos and I think they pin Solo Sikoa.
I am going to go with Roman winning. Do you know what? The amount of times that I pick Roman to lose, and the one time I pick Roman to win, and I bet you will lose now, but I'm going to say Roman wins.
I still think he shouldn't be pinned at this moment because I think it's dangerous for the long term. But we'll see how and where it all goes down. But let's go into the comments and see what everybody has got to say. First off, we've got an uh-oh from Victor. Uh-oh. I don't know where it's coming from. Maybe it's Charlotte from back in the day when she used to say uh-oh a lot. Sis has said Heyman underneath as well, though. Temple Place, I know this is out there, but what if there were two winners of the briefcase? Io and Bayley both take down the briefcase together and both get jealous and fight for it SummerSlam. Like that storyline. Almost like Bret Hart and Lex Luger with the Royal Rumble back in the day. It's certainly a way to do it. It's certainly if they can't wrestle it off one another. But one, I suppose, would have to let it go somewhere. I don't know how they would get around it. But as a storyline narrative, I'm open to it. I think it could be quite fun.
I'm getting serious flashbacks. Do you remember when they had the Women's Championship and it was split in half and they had two winners of the same belt? That's what I'm I'm getting serious flashbacks to that, and I can't remember. I'm pretty sure that story with the Women's Championship wasn't very good. So, but then again, it is like 15 years later or however long, so I imagine it might be a slightly bit better.
Absolutely, we'll have to see how it's going to go down. Victor says anything can happen this Saturday. You are correct. Temple Place says the Usos beating Roman and Solo. Solo snaps and Simone sparks Roman. Solo drags Roman into tag Roman in, and all three super kick Roman. Jay pins Roman, leaving Roman and Paul all alone in the ring. Interesting. As if that would be the night, the place that happens, and Roman actually takes a pinfall. We've discussed it before. We think Roman shouldn't be pinned until he drops the championships, but still, as a fantasy booking idea, something intriguing there. We'll see. We can see how it play out.
Yeah, I mean, it's there for, but it's just a case of I'm almost sitting here thinking, like, what are the chances that Roman loses, kicks Solo out, and then he brings in like two more people, like another tag team or something, just to even out the numbers, and then we get some sort of, I don't know, Survivor Series style match come that end of the year where Roman has to recruit a new bloodline or whatever, and he has to bring in people. I don't know, but it's like I said, there's just so many story narratives and arcs to the way they can go with this. Like, I can't imagine that Roman is going to be on his own, though, probably towards the end of the year. I think that's going to get to the point where everyone leaves him. And I think it's probably going to be more Rumble time. I think the Rumble is actually the more spot-on time for when that's it. Come WrestleMania season, Roman's all on his own with Paul Heyman. In fact, I would be pretty surprised if even Paul Heyman isn't in the faction by that point.
Be interesting how they're going to do it. Obviously, Roman's not advertised for, I believe it's the Payback show. I don't believe he's advertised for it this moment, which is a surprise because I thought that's the reason they brought Payback back. And I don't know if he's going to be for Fastlane either at this early stage. But Roman was expected to take a break after SummerSlam. Maybe something like this happens around SummerSlam to write him off. We'll have to wait and see how or when it will play out. But at the same time, I agree with you. The pieces all seem to fit together, and it could be something that needs to conclude all around Rumble season in time for WrestleMania or at WrestleMania. We'll have to wait and see how it will go along. 2 Sweet House is another match I'm conflicted on. You're not alone, my friend. So much can come from this, like NXT, and a lot of us are saying, just when you think it can't get better, it does. Joe says, I think Solo will turn on Roman. There we go. Good projection there from Cena. Solo to turn on Roman. Well from Victor. Robbie, you're here in the main event with us, my friend, but it's good that you're back. Thank you for joining us once again. It has been confirmed from Grayson Waller on his social media that he is injured. He did pick up an injury in his last match with Carmelo Hayes, so I'm not surprised that's why that happened, but I did not realize it was a broken leg. Such a shame, but good to see that Grayson Waller is still getting some use on WWE TV. The Grayson Waller effect, certainly they've done something to keep him going, which is good to see. Robbie Collins says, I don't think Solo turns yet. I think it'll be done later. But I think Roman needs to take a pin here. Interesting. We've got something to do. Say Roman needs a pin.
I'm actually thinking that for it to make sense as a story arc, I think Roman and Solo need to win the tag team titles at some point, and the Usos have to take them off of Roman and Solo, and that's what causes the split between Solo and Roman. I think as a narrative, I think that would be better, but again, you then put in tag team titles back in with the Bloodline story again.
Absolutely. I have to read this carefully, by the way, before I actually say it out now, because when I first read it, insert God for Roman, it actually meant G-O-D. The Gorillas of Destiny, that could be there.
Great
Your
shout.
suggested idea there. The Usos versus Roman and the G-O-D would be a fantastic shout there.
That's a great shout.
Is indeed. Joe Cena, do you think The Rock returns at SummerSlam at the end of Roman's match and Rock can confront Roman for WrestleMania 40? To be brutally honest, I feel like we've discussed it so many years in a row now that I'm at a case I believe it when I see it now. I'm not sure it's going to happen.
41, I think, is the earliest now. Roman will lose those titles before we have that match, because it doesn't make sense like I've been saying, it doesn't make sense to have Rock in the title match against Roman. It does. Just at the end, I'm pretty confident we all know that Roman's going to win that to establish himself as one of the greatest superstars of all time. And let's be honest, Rock's about 20 years older than him. I think, it's just the safest bet that Roman would win that, but it doesn't need a title.
No, it doesn't need a title at all. But hey, maybe one day it will happen. Apparently, Victor said that Eleanor discussed to Chris Van Vliet about bringing back the dummy catchphrase. I've only seen one of the short videos he's done, one of his clip videos. I've not seen the full interview. I would be interested to see that clip there. Suggesting the idea as well, Tamina joined the Bloodline and Saturday with Umaga's son making his debut. Interesting. Victor says, yes, boy, Pretty Deadly grew out on me, and they'll face Karen Semi for the tag titles on Friday. Just when we thought we're done with Money in the Bank, we'll be talking about SmackDown in a couple of minutes, but thankfully we'll probably get that done in 10 short minutes. And I don't think The Rock should get involved, unfortunately, although if we do, it wouldn't be for the title. Agree with you, Robbie. In my opinion here, a lot of people talk about Kenny, friending and Kota Ibushi showing up at Money in the Bank to cost Nakamura. Travis, I don't know where you read that, my friend. I don't see it happening, but Clarkson, certainly the idea of Roman with God. You like the idea of costing Nakamura with Kenny and Kota Ibushi? I believe that. I mean, Ibushi's a free agent.
I'm just the idea of Ibushi turning up, I think, is a great idea alone. So having him do something, I think, would just be amazing.
I mean, to be fair, I did read it as Kenny and Kota Ibushi, to be fair. But Kenny's friend, Kota Ibushi. That would probably explain it there. But Travis, I appreciate the input there as well. But that is all for Money in the Bank, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us for Money in the Bank. But before you go anywhere, stick around, because we need to change the artwork around just a little bit here, because we're moving on. It's time to talk SmackDown, baby. We're going to talk about 2 matches on SmackDown on Friday, 2 championship matches. We've got the Unified Tag Team Championships and we've got the Women's Championship as well. So without further ado, we're going to go through this in a few short minutes and we're going to give our picks of who we think are going to win the matches. And if you want to get involved, then feel free to join in the comments and let us know who you think will be picking up the W. So to kick things off then, let's talk about the Unified Tag Team Championships. Sami Zayn versus Let's start that again. We're going to start off by talking about Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus Pretty Deadly for the Unified Tag Team Championships. Now, Pretty Deadly did win a gauntlet match on SmackDown to get this opportunity. Yes, boy, it's great to see that they're getting it. And they've been undefeated so far on SmackDown. Very clever with the way they're winning matches as well, with old school heel tactics. They're getting their characters over slowly, organically. They've got Austin Theory that seems to be with them as well as a bit of a unit. Do we see Austin Theory playing a factor in this tag title match on Friday in the O2 in London?
I'd like to think so, but then I think Sami and Kevin will probably have some sort of counter to answer the Austin Theory problem. Possibly whoever Theory's next opponent for the US title will be. So, but I can't imagine that they'll get done over by a 3-on-2 situation.
No, I mean, Sammy and KO have had they've had a strong run so far, and I must admit, I mean, I'm looking forward to just interaction on the mic with them. I know we've seen it on SmackDown briefly, but I would like to see more of it this Friday, to be honest, with KO, and especially the way he's been doing his sort of anger management of late with Pretty Deadly and their sort of gimmick, for me, I think could be a lot of fun. But how do you see it? Do you just see it as a plan on Sammy and KO win and we move on and we go back to Imperium on Raw? Or do you reckon there is legs where this could actually have another match in the future?
I don't know, because I think with Giovanni Vinci being out injured, I think that Imperium is kind of off the table at the minute. I think that this is why we're getting this match on Friday. I think that I'd prefer to see this carry on and we get more of a story from it. I think this is just a great way to build up Pretty Deadly. I think if you gave them a couple of shots at Sammy and Kevin, I think it's a great way to elevate them. And it's nice to see them actually doing something with a new tag team.
It really is something to do with a good tag team. And the thing is, I think they've had such a strong showing since coming up. And I hope that this isn't the end of the road. Do you think Pretty Deadly will continue to be successful on SmackDown going forward? Or do you reckon there'll be now a team that would be arguably someone that could get lost in the shuffle should they lose here?
No, I think that their character work is pretty spot on. I think they're the kind of guys that... like they've shown on NXT that if you put them in a tag team run, they can do really well. But even when they're not in a tag team scenario, like a title situation, even when they're not in a title situation, their story arcs can still be evolved. Like I'm dreaming for the day that we get a Maximum Male Models Pretty Deadly storyline.
Oh wow!
Like I think it would be absolutely hilarious, and I would love to see it manifest and happen. But like I said, they're a pretty solid team, and like they can keep themselves busy. In or not in a title situation.
Absolutely, indeed. And I hope for them. I'd love that, by the way, the Maximum Male Models to come in. That'd be so much fun. So yeah, let's hope that does happen at some point.
Imagine they had Breezango as well, and you had those three teams in a storyline. It'd be the funniest thing ever.
It would be indeed. Their Fashion Files brought back. That would be absolutely amazing. I would love to see it. But finals before we go to comments: Sammy and KO to pick up the win.
Yeah, until they decide what they're doing with them tag team titles, I think they're going to stand Sammy and Kevin for the minute.
I think so as well. Let's go into the comments. And I'm already smiling. You know it's there because it's coming in. Yes, boy.
Yes, boy.
Yes, boy. Fantastic. Loving that there with the dedication when it comes to that. And speaking of dedication, Robbie says, dedication, you guys going over 2 hours. Well, what can we say? I have a joke in there somewhere, but really. I'm really trying not to say it out loud. I don't want to get demonetized. Clarkson says, is it just me or is Pretty Deadly's theme sound a bit like ABBA's Dancing Queen classic song? It's a classic song indeed. I'd have to listen to it again to see if I can hear the similarities. But what do you reckon of the new Pretty Deadly entrance theme?
I've not heard it then. I only know their old one from NXT. I've not watched a full episode of SmackDown or Raw since they've come up, so like I've just literally watched highlights and bits, so I haven't heard it yet. I'd have to go and listen to it. Like I like their old one. I didn't know what was wrong with that.
No, I like their old one as well. I don't know why they felt the need to change it, but maybe it's something to do with music rights. We'll have to wait and see later down the line. But Robbie Collins says, unfortunately, I think it'll be a Sammy and KO win right now, but that isn't to say Pretty Deadly can't win in the future. They have everything that they need to win the belts in the future. I agree that entirely. I always say they remind me of Edge and Christian in their earlier days when they had like the 5-second flash photography when they're obnoxious heels. For me, I think that they could play that down to the ground, and I think it'd be awesome for them. I do think they've got a very bright future.
People are gonna hate them when they start doing their obnoxious side plate checks, and it's going to be fantastic.
It is going to be indeed. There, Clarkson, they're saying yes, boy. Once again, there.
Yes, boy.
I should win the Iron Man award or something for being here for 2 hours, right? Absolutely. No, it's not just us here for 2 hours. The chat is as well. I'm going to tell you, you're all very dedicated and love to you all. I think if there's an MVM going right now to Sweet Carl, definitely it would be coming your way. Victor says, SCW and Steve Austin tease a man with him on social media. Top dollar? Maybe. I have no idea. I haven't seen anything with that, unfortunately. How do we feel if it was to continue this Cross and Styles feud, but it turns to hair versus hair match? Cross cutting vignettes, promos, AJ cutting a promo backstage. Fine with it. I mean, Cross needs a haircut.
Is this Jonesy? Is he secretly taken over this Drew Allen account and is trying to manifest hair versus hair matches again? I don't know what the deal is with that. I've never seen the fuss of why people are so fascinated with a hair versus hair match.
I don't know. It's not my favourite stipulation either, but I'm going to say that Cross does need a haircut. So we'll have to wait and see how it will go down. Austin Theory with Dollar. There we are. Austin Theory's with Top Dollar. Fair enough. Well, I mean, I don't know what's going to go on with that there. Theory, stay away because Top Dollar's not got a good run in WWE right now. It probably isn't a good move for him. So I would suggest he stays clear. We're going to move on to the next match then. In the meantime, we're going to be talking about the SmackDown, or no longer the SmackDown Women's Championship. Let's start that again. We're going to move on next then to the WWE Women's Championship. I'm going to do it a third time. I'm going to make this into a separate. I'm making this into a separate recording. If anyone had guessed of why he's made a blunder, he's got to repeat himself. This is why. We're going to talk next then about Asuka versus Charlotte Flair for the WWE Women's Championship. I can't do it. I can't do it at all. I'll just take one of them and break it together. Yeah, I mean, we've got the Women's Championship. Oh dear, indeed. You've all stayed here for 2.5 hours.
Now it's just going to cut back into us randomly laughing for no reason whatsoever.
The beauty of editing. Why are they smiling? I've got no idea. I've got no idea at all. But yeah, we'll move into it anyway then. Obviously, Asuka and Charlotte Flair. Obviously, Charlotte Flair coming in and she says like there is no line. You know, the line starts with her and everyone behind her. Coming in as babyface Charlotte Flair. Asuka, of course, recently becoming a heel. Asuka was meant to be having a rematch, though, with Bianca Belair. That was supposed to be the direction until Charlotte Flair returned. Of course, now Bianca Belair was saying she was going to go all the way to London. It was going to be at ringside. It's a hell of a long way to go to watch this match. You could watch it in the States at home. But at the same time, she was going to make her way. But Adam Pearce has now said she's barred from ringside. Is Bianca Belair going to come all the way to the UK to get involved in this one?
Absolutely. I've got a feeling that this is now where we're starting to lean more into the heelish side of Bianca Belair finally, and I'm starting to love it because it's really what I want to see, and I really don't want to see Charlotte as another women's champion for the sake of just being in a match. I'd rather there be some sort of story and a purpose to it rather than I'm Charlotte Flair, I win, lol.
Exactly. I mean, when I first saw the return of Charlotte Flair, I did say, I think that's the purpose. The face of it is to go and win the championship. But of course, I think the long-term direction is Charlotte Flair versus Bianca Belair. I think that's what's going to happen. I think Asuka will get out of the other side still as your WWE Women's Champion. For me personally, I think Asuka against an Io Sky or a Bayley could be a future program, but I wouldn't be surprised to see the triple threat match take place at SummerSlam. I think Charlotte and then Bianca could go and have a singles program leading all the way to Survivor Series that could even lead into the female War Games this year. Yeah.
War Games.
War Games. So yeah.
War Games. Sorry, I can't do it as good as Mr. My phone. It's been talking for too long now. I can't even think of names now. Mr. Regal. There we go.
There we are, Mr. Regal, indeed. There, beautiful William Regal himself there. So yeah, that's our thoughts there. Asuka, Charlotte Flair, WWE Women's Championship. I'm not going to get it right, even if I do. Yes, Asuka retains in some fashion. That's what's going to happen here. So let's go into the comments then once again, and we need a rap. Of John Cena and Top Dollar's music video. That would certainly be something for my eyesight. I can say that for free. Jeffrey saying KO and Sammy to retain, but it'd be pretty deadly win in the UK. Maybe a DQ win or something like that. But it feels like a lot of the UK talent we've put here are not winning. Jeffrey says, woo, for Charlotte Flair. Robbie Collins says, woo. Charlotte is just too good to Asuka. Woo! Jeffrey says, tell me, this give me 4 tag teams for the AEW Eliminator if you have to pick this Wednesday. Jeffrey, it's a WWE stream, my friend. My brain can't even think after 2.5 hours. Does AEW even have a tag team division anymore? I think they'll move to trios.
The Acclaimed, the Guns, the Young Bucks, and you have to help me with the 4th one because my brain's farted and I can't think of any more.
Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal.
There you go, Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal.
He comes back for one more match. He comes back for one more match, even if he doesn't want to. Or Bullet Club Gold. Bullet Club Gold are in there. Why not? Because the Guns and the... Why not? Why not? We're going to make anything happen here now at this point onwards. Victor says, Bianca as a heel is organic, Steve. Do you think that she could keep the theme? She could keep the theme because it's kind of a bit of an arrogant theme when you think about the way that she's the EST, greatest, and all the other stuff. I'm on my own against the world. You know, that's a heel kind of thing. She feels everybody's against her.
I'm pretty sure it's her theme from NXT when she was a heel, so it works either way. So it's all good.
It's all good in the hood. That's what we say here. Robbie Collins says, never liked face Bianca. Cannot wait for heel Bianca. Charlotte, still the greatest women's wrestler. Through and through, that won't change. She is one of the greatest of all time. She's definitely, there's no arguments in it. Eric says, Steve, I don't know if you know, but who is ready for All In? Do you think it would be a good time to strap Saraya? Not at the moment for me. Tony's still got the gold at the moment, but yeah, we're ready for All In a way, but not as much for Money in the Bank and for SmackDown this Friday. I think the UK has got our eyes purely on WWE this week.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gassed to be going to All In, and I wouldn't mind seeing Saraya pick up a TBS championship or something while I'm there.
Yeah. Yeah, it will be interesting to see if it was to go down. The Price is Right has been ending. My childhood is going away. Jeffrey, it's painful, isn't it, when the childhood does go away? I understand it. Eric says, War Games. Robbie, never understand the dislike for Bianca to Sweet Carl. Here we go again. Do you reckon they'll cut off the long hair for Bianca if she turns heel? I think more likely she keeps it. We have to do it. It is a weapon indeed. We laugh because Jonesy always says about her, it's her that needs to lose the hair, in Jonesy's opinion. So we're not actually laughing at your comment. It's just the fact that it's always suggested, and we love Jonesy for it. Jonesy, never change. Johnny TV and QT Marshall, they are a pairing. They are a pairing. It is a thing. House of Black, that is a suggestion as well. We've got some suggestions in there for that tag team tournament. Kyle, I just don't like the character. It's nothing to do with the wrestling ability. She's brilliant. There we are. That's that there. DQ match.
Her character's just gone stale, yeah.
That's what it is. And obviously the same thing for there. So, yeah, there we go. And before we wrap things up, obviously we mentioned Grayson Waller earlier on. Grayson Waller has a Grayson Waller effect with Logan Paul, ladies and gentlemen. So how do we see that playing out? Do we just see all the Money in the Bank competitors getting involved in this and ruining another Grayson Waller effect?
Probably, but then they have to do it in such a way that Grayson Waller doesn't have to get up from behind his desk so people don't see his broken leg, unfortunately, because they're pretty good at doing stuff like that. So it'd be interesting to see what they do. But I imagine we'll get someone inadvertently climb a ladder and touch the briefcase, and we can all go, well, we know you're not winning it now.
Absolutely, indeed. There maybe it's someone like Ricochet or Shinsuke Nakamura. We'll have to wait and see who it may be, or an LWO member, because maybe they just keep everyone on SmackDown like they're meant to. Time will tell. And last but not least, Roman Reigns returns, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. The graphic we see more often than Tony Khan's breaking announcements for AEW these days. Roman Reigns will be back. He'll be in the UK. Obviously, I think it's more going to be just an acknowledgement more than anything else. But do we see any friction more with the Bloodline Civil War before we get to Money in the Bank?
I think he's probably going to bang on about the last time being there and he beat Drew. And then that will intertwine with Solo. And then that will get onto the point of talking about the match against the Usos.
There we go. And I think that could be where it could lead to as well. I don't see too much coming from it. And if they do, they may just give a hint of where the direction may go. But I think, if anything, they would try and tease it where both teams can get the win on Saturday rather than making one look more dominant than the other. But we'll wait and see. Maybe Roman will dominate on SmackDown. We'll have to wait and see this Friday. But the matches then that we can look forward to are the Unified Tag Team Championships, Sammy and KO versus Pretty Deadly. We have the Women's Championship, Asuka versus Charlotte Flair. We have got then Logan Paul appearing on the Grayson Waller effect, and Roman Reigns returns. So, yeah, that is the SmackDown preview for you. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to SCW, and thank you for watching. That's that cut there for that video. There you go. So now we can go into the comments then quickly, and we can wrap things up here today. And if you actually have seen this all the way through, you don't need to see the other video, but what you do get out of this is you saw the outtakes. You saw us completely blunder quite a few things up which will not be on the bit that will go out in that video. You can see it's how we awkwardly are laughing and then not laughing. There we go. You get something a little bit special. We've got Victor then says DQ match for this. Bianca turns heel and Profits turn heel. Yep, we did see that. Jeffrey's last comment says, I suggest Sean something for NXT. I have said Shelton Benjamin on NXT tonight. Help Damian Kemp for the NXT Underground, a new Olympic faction. I like the idea of the faction. I'm not sure I need Underground back, but
Underground,
but it'll be what it'll be. It's one match. Hopefully it's not coming back anymore. I need LA Knight slating Prime again. I think we need that as well there. That would be something very special if they could do that in the future. I said LA Knight versus Logan Paul definitely should be the direction of the SummerSlam. We think that's the best way.
And then you can get LA Knight cussing out KSI as well. That'd be funny.
That would be hilarious. LA Knight and Grayson promo, here for it again. Yep, definitely here for it again. Crazy LA and Grayson on SmackDown both was feuding in NXT. They certainly were. It would be special to see him do it on the main roster, especially when Grayson is good to go again. The crowd boos towards Roman in the UK. Going to be fantastic. UK crowds hit different. They do indeed. It's going to be special to see. And Rich Holland haircut is so weird. It's a bit random, Victor. UK Cisco. No, I don't know. If he does karaoke, does he sing the thong song? We need to know that information. Great stream, gentlemen. Thanks for keeping me entertained since I got off work to NXT in just a few minutes. Have we really gone on till the NXT starts there? Too sweet, Carl. MVM, without question. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank everyone that has been joining us. Robbie as well, saying great stream as always, you guys. Thank you very much. I feel like that this has been almost as long as what the pay-per-view will be, ladies and gentlemen. But I've got to say, thank you to everyone who has watched this video. In fact, you've seen 2 videos in one whilst you have been here. This is the longest prediction stream we've ever done. Thank you, Victor. And to think there was only 2 of us. Imagine if there was like 4 of us. We could have been going on longer. But
God, yeah.
All I can say is, NXT, a massive thank you to you for taking the time out for Money in the Bank.
Mate, it's always a pleasure. And you people out there, subscribe to this guy's channel. He's 10 away from 2K, and you heard that from me, NX Steve. Yeah.
I think we need to have you doing that every time. I don't even need me to say that to subscribe to the channel. Just literally pass it over to. In fact, 1 minute. We're gonna redo this.
So for everyone out there in the wrestling universe, subscribe to the SCW channel. And you heard that from me, NX Steve. Yeah. See you next time.
And that's not an insult. That's just a fact of life.
That's just a fact of life.
Thank you all for watching. Look after yourselves. Enjoy Money in the Bank. We've got Steve Knight coming in the comments there for us. Gotta love that indeed. And of course, Robbie Collins saying, yeah. And the thing is, literally what we say when it comes to Money in the Bank this Saturday, should you watch? Yeah. Take care. Look after yourselves.
Yeah.
Enjoy Money in the Bank.